How you guys doing? Good evening. Welcome to my channel. Once again, I'm Untitled Chapter. Tonight's topic is really important. It's more about the guys than me. I'm merely just the host tonight. And really what we're doing here is continuing from last week, finding the one. What does the one look like? What do guys think of? You know, we know girls, we have fairy tales. We see a guy and all of a sudden we get, airy headed. We see flowers, we see lights, we see little glitter. But what do the guys really think? And how can we start thinking clearer to be ready for that person? Because really, we should be looking for, when we're looking for someone, what we're looking for in that person, we should have within ourselves. So tonight, I have a few people, and I'm going to introduce them briefly. First person to my right is my brother, Christopher. He's a married man, but he has some views I'd love him to share with us. Further down, we have Sean, who is, he's been blowing up in the LBB, chats and everything. Everyone loves him. They trust him. He's a man who gives the opinion that the people want to hear. And of course, we have David. David's another person who's very well known to the LBB panel. And so everyone, welcome and thank you for joining us today. So what I'm going to do first really is kind of start with the light stuff. So, we talk about the one. The banner says the one. What is the one to you? So, how about Sean? Can I start with you? So when you hear the one, I'm a woman, might be a little bit romantic sometimes. I say the one, but in your mind, what would you define as the one?
So when I think about the one, I think about who's going to be the best compliment to me. Is that woman going to respect me? And I think that's a key difference for most men. And I'll preface it by saying most. Most of us prefer respect, whereas most women are looking for love. So it's the respect for me. That's key. Obviously, there's peace. Does she bring peace to the relationship? Is she a safe space? Right?
Yeah.
I think that's very important. Obviously, the attractiveness, the femininity. That's right up there on that list. When I think about who is that one woman that I would spend my life with or look for a long-term relationship.
Thank you. That's I have heard that before. I remember speaking with a good friend of mine, and he kind of put it almost in those words. The biggest thing for him is it's true. As a woman, I want a man to love me, do all those kind of things. But I think what's different between us and males is respect is key. That's something they need because men need that to feel like, they are occupying a space in your life. So, David, would you like to tell us in your opinion, what's the one to you?
Hi, everyone. So for me, I think the one is, let me firstly preface by saying, I do believe that there is the one. And for me, I would say the one is who you choose to spend your life with. So, I believe that God has a purpose and a plan for your life. And there are people that he has created along the way to go through life with you. But the whole concept of just one person as the one, to me, is a flawed concept. Okay. And why do I say that? Number one is, what if the person doesn't like you? Or what if you don't like the person? Another thing is, what if that person just dies untimely? They're just walking on the road and then they just get hit by a truck and they are dead. And that's the only person God has created for you. So that means there's no show for you in this life. So that's the end of it. You can't have anyone else. So that whole concept to me is kind of very flawed. And the whole point is kind of going around God's sovereignty and humans' free will. Mm-hmm. And my own understanding is that God's sovereignty does not trump man's free will, except he or she submits to that. So God's sovereignty is one thing, your will is another thing. Now, God is not going to impose or trump over your free will because he has created us to be free will. Look at the Garden of Eden. The first man he ever chose a wife for, turned around and blamed him and said, "You're the one who chose that for me." And there's a saying that a decision is made valid when they are made in the midst of options.
Now, I like that.
Now, Adam went on and was in his feelings, you can say, and said, "Oh, you're the woman for me, the bone of my bone, the flesh of my flesh." It makes sense because he was seeing bones and flesh of elephant and goat and rabbit, and then he saw this one that looked exactly like him. So that made sense. How about if God had actually presented to Adam, Eve, and Shanae? What would have been his assessment? Would he say Shanae is the one and this other one is not the one? So that whole concept to me is kind of flawed, and that's why I say that it all comes down to who do you choose. That person is actually your one. And I think in terms of what you're looking for as a man, I think Sean pretty hit he hit the spot in the sense that the Bible says that women should submit and respect their husband, and then he says the man should love his wife, and I think it pretty puts it that way because we men really have a kind of hard time
Mm-hmm.
loving in the way a woman wants to be loved. And when I say that, I mean that we are very like not so expressive in the way a woman expresses that love. Doesn't necessarily mean we don't love you, but the way we probably pass it across is kind of different. And so that whole concept then makes you understand that okay, this is like what a man is looking for. And then he talks about peace as well. Peace is a very big thing for a man as well. Because like we're kind of structured to live our life and to get our validation and acceptance and all those things from our achievements and accomplishments in life. That's why a man would probably tell you firstly that he's an engineer or a senior drilling engineer before he tells you that he's married and has 2 kids, because that's where we find our sort of our validation, our word from. And so when we go through all of that during the daytime, we want to come back home to a place where we can lay our head, because there is a baby in every man. There's a baby boy in every man, and he wants to feel that with the woman who he actually chooses to connect with.
Mm-hmm.
So that piece is obviously something there. So I'm sure we'll definitely talk about this more. So I'll just leave it there.
Yes, thank you very much. And last but not least, my brother Christopher, what's up? How you doing? So
Hey, yeah,
we're
I'm
coming to
okay.
you
You all
about
right?
V1, and you tell me what you think, and what's that for you? What does that mean to you, and what does it look like?
Oh, man. I think first of all, hi everyone again. I feel like the concept of the one is really tricky. Sometimes I think I'm overthinking it, but then at the same time, I think it's gone through so many versions in my head and to a lot of people that I've been speaking to. If I attempt to personalize it, I think I couldn't do a better job than what I heard from Sean, I'm guessing, that really encapsulates everything I would be thinking of. But um I think it I think one of the more practical signs of, for me, a person who is the one is really just understanding that you are aligned with somebody else that is from another culture, even if they live up your street. They're from another culture, they're from another place, they
Mm-hmm.
speak another language. But I think it's very important when that person is actually aware of that fact. I think a lot of people aren't aware that the person in front of them is a different person, just trying to live, just trying to survive. We tend to get caught up in these ideas that, listen, I'm just trying to be in love and
Mm-hmm.
this is what I'm trying to do. And when it doesn't go the way they want it to be, it's always like, there's something wrong with that other person. And even though it's very hard because we are selfish as human beings, I think a trait that is desirable for me in somebody else is just that understanding that it takes time to really build something harmonious, because I know where I'm coming from and I know what I want, but the other person has no idea what I want. And that understanding, I don't know if I'm articulating that point.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just very important to understand that that person in front of you is different from you, and you're on a journey to kind of discover. No, I wouldn't even call it a middle ground. Just an understanding that is personalized to that person that you say that you care about. So apart from the things that Sean said, I would say definitely an understanding that people are different and people are looking for love, and it may not necessarily be in the way that you understand it to be. So a little convoluted, but I guess that's what I have for now.
No, that's good. And just for the people who are
Yeah.
coming in, when Sean spoke, there were a few qualities which I remember. I actually put jotted down. Then the first thing I remember, he says, when a man's looking at considering a woman as the one, he's looking at someone who's given respect. Of course, men need a safe space. Another thing he says, peace. Just like my man on Ready to Love, what was his name, Jason? That if you can find peace of woman, that's half the job right there. So these are the things, because the whole purpose of this is for, yes, women, we have this idea, yeah, I'm looking for the one. And, when I use the term the one, I'm using it loosely because it's not just one person, but I'm going to ask the guys how they go about doing that. But pretty much it's like, it's a picture. What do you see? What does it look like? So just to come on to what I'm saying, I'm going to now ask the guys, for them, what do you see? Let me start with my brother who is married. Let me ask you this, sir. You're married now. When you crossed from, dating, or even when you met her, so I want to give us two things. From the time you met your wife to the time you decided to marry her, there were probably two main points. What were those things, if you can articulate them, that led you to say, you know what, this is someone I want to take seriously, one, and then this is someone I want to marry?
I think the first part was quite easy because I tend to struggle really gelling with people. And so a lot of times I can actually just look at it like, oh, wow, we've been good for a month. We've been good for 3 months. We've been good for 6 months. We've been good for a year. And I think when it gets like that, of course, you can try to break it down if you're analytical in nature. She just gets me. She's quite respectful, la, 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 la. But for me, for my wife, it was just understanding that I'm still here, I'm still with this person, and I still want to speak to this person. And I may have my reasons and for why that's happening, but I think it was more important that it was happening, because before her, there were a lot of relationships ending really, really quickly. And not for any particular reason. You're just like, that cliche, it's not me, it's not you, it's just something's just not working here. It's just not working. And I think that for me was it, that when the time started going, I was able to say, okay, you know what, this really feels like it's something special. But I think crossing over to the final stage, it was a combination of saying, well, you've met this person who is not really like anybody that you've met before, and you're not tired of hanging with the person. Now, are you actually ready to make a mental commitment? And I think the mental commitment side was really, really important, because even though I felt like I was with somebody that I was gelling with, I think that there are lots of times where maybe with like small arguments, small disagreements, you can find yourself saying, am I even really in the right situation? Is this even really right for me? And you can go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I don't know whether it was really God speaking to me one day, or just reaching some place where I just heard a voice just say, this stage, for you to go from A to B, it has to be a commitment. You just have to say, you know what, I am actually ready to take the next step. And it's not about looking for a right answer, because nobody's going to be able to give you that right answer. But if you do say, you know what, I'm ready to do this and I'm ready to commit to it, then, the so-called magic may happen. And I think that's what I did. And yeah, that's why I'm here where I am now, I guess. Yeah.
Love it, love it. I like that piece, because it's different for everyone, but I think I've heard that before. Is that it's one thing for you to meet someone who has these qualities, but crossing over is that decision to commit. I like that. David, I'm going to go to you. So for you, you're not married yet, are you, sir?
Are
you married?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to throw that same question to you, and then kind of tying it into components of a successful relationship. Like, so same thing, like, what were the qualities you saw? What led you to say, oh, you know what, this is where this is a serious relationship we have here. And then of course to the point where you're like, we're going to get married.
So for me, I would say choosing someone is based on where you come from, where you are at the moment, and where you want to go in life. Okay. Now, family is the bedrock of every relationship or family unit. So it does give us our initial concept of what a relationship or family should be like. And everyone is different, experiences and all those things impact how we shape up. So to be like the partner of, for example, a president or a pastor, it's quite different from to be the partner of a banker or a teacher or something like that. So I think the idea is everyone has like a mental list of what they're looking for, of like your negotiables and non-negotiables.
Okay.
But ultimately, for me, I think prayer to God, confirmation from God, is the most is what eventually seals the deal. But in terms of what do we say, choosing that person. Some of those things are what, like Sean has mentioned before, which is like peace, understanding, like what your brother said, um, respect, and then making that final decision. I think I really resonate with what your brother said, which is you get to that point where you just have to make a decision, and you have to, because for me, I think one thing I always think is no matter who you're with, at the end of the day, like what Crystal said, it all takes work. You might be with this guy and you might feel like, oh, it's a lot of things I'm dealing with and whatever. Don't get into that mindset where you feel like if I get into this other relationship, I won't have issues. Because like what your brother was saying, we all come from different places. So we're gonna have definitely things that are gonna rub, and then we're going to have to find a middle ground where we're going to understand each other. So for me, I've always believed that there's no like one perfect Disneyland somewhere and all those kind of things. So you have to like weigh it out and say, okay, is this, do I have a lot into this that I can actually make that decision? And then if you feel like, yes, I really do have a lot of connection, I do have a lot of chemistry, a lot of understanding, then you can say, okay, these little things that are there are the things that we can work on, are the things that I can compromise on, are the things that I can deal with, because unlike Mr. Ron in Ready to Love, who's like, what are you going to offer me? The truth is, everyone is bringing something to the table, okay? You're going to offer something, she's going to offer something. So we're all going to help each other out. So at the end of the day, you're going to have to make some compromise and learn how to manage things. But ultimately you just have to, as a man, get to that point where you feel like, you know what, I think I'm ready to make that decision and go forward.
Okay. And quick question, because the audience is very curious. David, how many years have you been married?
Just 1 year, just
Oh, okay.
pretty
Okay.
young,
Okay.
young,
Okay.
pretty young in the game.
Look. This is probably an important part because you're still closer to where you made those decisions. And
Yeah.
Akbar, how many years have you guys been married now? I know I went for the wedding, so I feel like it's been 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, 3 years. 3 years.
Okay, all right. So I guess they're just trying to see how close you were to that point in terms of being fresh. Now coming to Sean, we're coming to you now. For I know you gave us qualities, but if we could get like a visual for you, what do you consider a successful relationship, and what would make you be in a position? Are you? Oh, I should ask you. Are you married, Sean? I didn't think you were, but I didn't ask you.
I'm not anymore.
Oh, beautiful. So we're going to talk about that, sir. We're going to talk about that. So for you, what were the things that would make you go into a relationship, a committed relationship? What kind of qualities? What did you see? And then what made you decide to get married, or what would make you decide to get married now?
So for me, I think back when I got married, first time, and the same that I would consider if I were to remarry, it would
Yeah.
have to be alignment, meaning that me and my wife have to be aligned. We have to, and when I say alignment, I don't mean we agree on every single thing because that's unrealistic, right? I mean that at our core principles, our core values are the same. When you see misalignments, when I've experienced misalignments, that is, some dangerous territory in there. So I think it's got to be that alignment. We have to be on the same page. we have to understand what marriage really is, if that's our path, right? Do we both have the same goal out of our marriage? Or is it for two different reasons? Or do we not even know why we're getting married, or why we want to be married, or why we're looking at each other to be considering one another for marriage? So those are some things that I think. And then lastly, I would say, how do we resolve issues? How do we disagree? Because we know it's going to happen. We know that disagreement is going to happen. We're not going to see things the same way, but it's the how for me. It's the how we go about doing that. Um, if she is somebody that is open to feedback, if she is someone that is able to hear what I'm truly asking for and not tell me what she thinks I need, I think that's important. And sometimes we kind of see that, where you'll hear women sometimes just tell a man what he ought to be happy with, or
Mm-hmm.
what he ought to accept, or what should be great for him. I've experienced that for sure, and I don't need that, right? And I'm not saying it's one sided either, right? It's the same for me. I got to be able to hear what you're saying. I got to be able to give you what you need. But if you can't hear me when I speak, or I share with you, or if it's a shutdown, that's a red flag, and some opportunities there for us to consider if this is gonna go the distance or not.
I like that. Go ahead. You wanted to say something, David?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I really resonate with what Sean is saying, because honestly, I've been there before, where and I'm not trying to equate my experience to his or anything like that, but I've been in a relationship with someone who actually who is very, very, should I just say, opinionated, and
Mm-hmm.
very on sort of like their decision. And just as an example, I've dated someone who's got a kid before as well, and and I know that people who are like that, so sometimes are very set in the way they do their things. Like, just give an example. A single mother, she's got a way, the way she bats her kids, the way she dresses them up and take them ready for school and all those kind of things, and whatever, and all the situation. When you get involved with them, or when you get involved with someone like that who has that kind of issue, let me just say that they tend to be not open or receptive to listen to changes. And sometimes it can be very subtle, whereby they don't even know that they are that way. They just feel like this is the way it should be done, or this is the way things have to be. You know what I'm saying? And then it's sort of like, okay, yeah, that's that's what you think it should be, but doesn't mean that there's no other better way to do it. And then when you don't have that kind of conversation whereby you can listen to me, I can listen to you, you can take what I'm saying, and not even, it's not like I'm saying something, before I finish saying it, you're already coming up with why it's not right. You see what I'm saying? You're actually taking it, digesting it, and saying, okay, I see your point. Okay, maybe there's actually the better way. Maybe, and sometimes what I find is that many of those kind of people, like this person example in my life, for example,
Yeah.
I found that the mom is actually like that at home.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? The family unit is actually like that. The mom is like, the dad is the provider, whatever, those kind of things. But the mom sort of drives the vehicle. And so
Mm.
when you now get into sort of that kind of relationship, it kind of becomes like that. And then when you make a statement to say, oh, this is how I feel, this is, just like what Sean is saying, it's not receptive, it's not taken in, it's not. So that's something that often becomes like, and that's why I said the family unit oftentimes is the first reflection of how people sort of handle relationships a lot of times. And sometimes their past experiences and their past encounters often dictates that.
That is very true. I was going to get to that, and I will wait before I jump on that. But I think how we grow up, what we see when we're growing up, definitely dictates how we move in a relationship. I definitely want to jump on that. But I want to come back to Sean, because now that we've kind of gotten to this spot here. So I too am in your shoes. I have some, I think the ink is drying right now, but it was drawn over process of maybe 4 or 5 years. So it's nothing new. I'm not crying. I don't have, I'm not wearing black or anything. But the biggest thing I think sometimes as we go ahead is, what did we learn from a past relationship? So for like someone like yourself, you have a divorce under your belt, and what would you say you've learned from it, and how do you think you'll approach differently?
So I love this question. And when you talked to me about the topic a couple of days ago, that's one of the things that I wrote down, because as I think about my next relationships, that's a key question that I want to ask that person. So I've obviously done the work to ask myself, but I just wanted to mention, like, for me, that's important, because if that person can examine themselves and walk away with a key component that they could do differently, like, and not point it at the person, that to me is so important. And similar to you, my divorce is fresh, the ink part, so I've had a lot of time to kind of process, a lot of time to examine what went wrong, because clearly when I got married, in my head, I was thinking the one. This was forever. And to get to a point where it wasn't meant that I had to do some level of self-examination as to how I got there. So to your question, I think when I think about that, I think about what I mentioned earlier about how we argue and how we handle disagreements. That's my number one lesson. If anybody that knows me, I know I got some family in the chat and some friends out there too. I can debate. I can go back and forth with you. I can break it down, from a logical aspect, and that can be exhausting, right? For the person on the other end. So one of my lessons learned was, is it worth the fight? If we're in a heated debate, is it worth the fight? And that's one of the things I had to make sure that I'm assessing. And I learned it too little too late in my first marriage. So I would say going forward, I would always have that question in my head. Is this really worth the fight? Because as we all know, you can get in a heated discussion, and sometimes it goes to the point where you're saying things you really didn't mean to say, and then it doesn't even become about the argument. It becomes about the words that you're saying, and that's stuff that you can't heal from. And I'll end with this point. A therapist, a marriage therapist once told me that when you're engaging in verbal conflict with somebody, every time you say a nasty word or a word from anger, it's like tearing up a piece of paper. And then you get to a point where you can't put that piece of paper back together again, and it's going to look the same way. So that's kind of my mind frame now. It's like, listen, I saw the damage fights can do and consistent arguments. So I don't want to argue unless it's really necessary.
Okay, I get that. And I think for myself, because as you were talking, I was thinking, I know I've had this and I've thought about it for a long time. What was it? And I think the biggest thing, based on how you've answered, is, I won't say I didn't speak up, but I'm of the temperament where it'll take me a minute before I get upset. So by the time I do, it's going to look like an overreaction. Like, I'm going to come for you. Your face will be smoked up with your hair on end by the time I say something, as opposed to, step by step. Hey, da-da-da-da, hey, because I'm not that kind of, like, I don't want to use the term naggy tap, but I'm not one who speaks a lot about things. But when I do, the bass in my voice is different. And of course, that component of respect, so I think now it's something where I'm learning that I need to, it might be a small infraction, but say it. So you've given him room to actually self-correct, as opposed to, I give him 5 tries, and that 6th try, I come with an axe and I'm ready to chop his head off. So I think that was one of the things that I definitely need to tweak, but I'll go into that. So we have someone who's joined us, Dr. Madi. Thank you for joining us. Welcome, sir. You haven't missed too much, but I know you're single. And so, and typically you guys get picked up by the end of your residency. Someone would have picked you up, or you would have picked somebody up, however it rolls. But kind of what I kind of started with here was, to you, in your impression, what is the one? And then I'll go around and then come back and let you answer the second question. So just to really give us back, as a young man who is busy, what's the picture of the one to you?
I think someone who, I think someone that I can grow with, or someone that's not gonna like be intimidated by success, if that makes any sense. Like, I think a lot of people don't want to compete, or like professionally, or don't want to compete in like other atmospheres of their lives when it comes to like setting goals. And it's just like one of the things that I look forward is like, you know what, I want to succeed in life. I have these goals or checklists of things I want to achieve. And hopefully I'm with someone that wants to do those same exact things. It'll just be kind of boring just to be running a race and just having someone just watch on the sidelines versus like run that race with you. It's not about who gets the medal, but it's just like making sure that, hey, someone's actually having fun trying to achieve certain goals, or goals or achievements in life. Being able to support them.
Okay. So you're getting ready as we're going through this. All right. So I'm going to come back to you for the second question, but now I'm looking at David. David, what I really want from you is, I know you're married now, but when you look at your past, what would you say you've learned from past relationships coming into your marriage now, knowing that, I'm doing this different?
I think that's a very good question, honestly. So what did I learn? One of the things I think I learned was, because I'm sort of a lot like you in that sense of, I don't feel like, we should always like say something every time, like, you did this today, I didn't like that. The next minute you did that, I didn't like that. To me, I'm like, how are we gonna survive? Like, if we all just like keep bringing up one thing after the other, one thing. So for me, I'm like, certain things you do, I'll just kind of overlook it, or just be like, that did rub me the wrong way, but I'll just kind of leave it and just move on.
Mm-hmm.
And then, eventually, the person I got with, she's like that kind of person who's like telling you every minute, like, hey, you did that wrong. And to me, that was so frustrating the first few months, because to me that just felt like, what can I do that is right? It's like almost
Mm.
everything
You felt
almost
defeated.
everything becomes like, yeah, it almost becomes like, a challenge, becomes like and like we've got a kid, so um that then brings in, like, for example, taking care of the kid. It's like, that's not how you do the diapers, or that's not how you do the wipes, or that's not how you. And then it's almost like, what, I'll just step back and let you do everything. And then it kind of looks like, oh, you're not being as supportive, you're not being as, assisting. And then you're kind of like in betwixt too, because you're like, I help, there's a problem. I don't help, I'm not being supportive. Like,
Mm-hmm.
where do I go from here? But I had to learn sort of like how to, have that balance of communicating and saying, what, this is how I feel. This is something that I don't like, as opposed to 2-3 weeks down the line, then it becomes a kind of like, oh, but that's how you said this the other day, and that's how
Mm.
you did this the other day. And then it kind of becomes like a kind of, several multiple things. And for me, growing up, you know I've always I've always had this mindset that, a man should support, a man should be like, supporting the kitchen, be there, support a wife and all those kind of things. But trust me, it never becomes real to you until when you're actually in that situation and you're actually
Mm.
living it up. Because like, I work like busy hours, I'm an engineer professionally, so I'm so busy, and then I come back home, and then it's like, I need you to help me out with this, I need you to do that, I need you to, so then it kind of becomes like, man, it's like a lot of work, I just want to kick back. And but you just kind of learn like how to get that dynamics going together and understand each other. And then for me, I think last thing I'd say is like, coming from Nigeria, and all of this kind of things, you have that drive, you have that passion, you have that energy, you want to succeed, you want to rise above and all that. And going forward, for me, that's one thing I really wanted. I really wanted someone who was gonna, for lack of a better word, add to my hustle, not someone who's gonna be like just sit down and I bring all the money and whatever. Not because I don't have it, but I'm just that kind of person that likes to drive. But then understanding, like, what God presents to you sometimes you might not be ready to receive.
Mm,
And I think that's a lot of the problem for us sometimes. We meet some people in our lives who, if you've actually met them 2, 3 years down the line, you actually be more mature to handle. You actually be more, receptive. You actually have more skills on how to deal with such things. So that's one of the things that I kind of learned along the way, and growing and sort of understanding, like, this is how that relationship goes, and this is how the dynamics goes, and things like that.
thank you, David. OP, to you, what would you say you've learned from your past relationships? Christopher? All right. I can't hear from my brother. He might be hold on. OP, can I hear you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we can hear you now. So what would you say you've learned from your
Okay.
past relationships?
Um, hmm, 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 hmm. The only thing I would say is it's definitely an art more than anything, but you have to pay attention to the little things and not be afraid to make them big things if necessary.
Explain that.
Something I'm very big on. I think some people argue for arguing's sake.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there's no end to that discussion. It's just going to be noise and then sorry and then see you tomorrow for the same event. And some people actually do make an effort to understand. Maybe afterwards, maybe it's been heated, but afterwards they do make an effort to understand, okay, how do we get somewhere where we don't repeat this thing again?
Yeah.
And I think it's very important in hindsight to know that when you meet, well, obviously I can't speak for everybody, but if you are a person who doesn't like arguing and you run into the kind of person that just needs to argue to let off steam, it's best if you recognize that early and do something about it, because I want to say we all try to be nice. We know we're not perfect. You want to give people chances. You want to do so much because you think, well, they have other qualities. But I think when you know what you're looking for and what you definitely don't want, even if it's just an echo, yeah, sometimes you may just have to close that chapter and move on. I think that's pretty much all I have. Yeah.
Okay. That interesting. I'm going to come back to you about that. So, Dr. Onu, for you, you're at the point where people are going to be trying to snap you up, or you're going to be trying to snap people up. I know you're busy. So for you, what would you say you've learned from the past that you're not going to take into a future relationship, which most likely may end up in a marriage? Because you don't have time to waste. So you're not going to waste anybody else's time. See, I'm kind of feeding you with information already.
I mean, this is a big question. So, I mean, there's several different responses. I think for number one, it's about being more patient and not expecting, like, being patient, because I think in the past, like early, like if I go back to my first relationship, I was not willing to listen. I was just willing just to talk and do and not listen to what the person has to say. Like I had six brothers, and I was like, it was always like when we wanted to get something done, we was always fast to do and not willing to listen and teach. Like our mom would like try to show us the way, but it was just like, unless we were doing something or using our hands or using our energy, it was like, what's the point? Like, one willing to sit and listen and watch. I've noticed, like, now, the more that I sit, listen, and watch, the better I know how to not just adjust, but actually effectively communicate the steps along the way. So I know that's kind of important, just to be able to pay attention to what's happening around me and not just reacting to moving around. I think another thing is just being like not forgiveness, the understanding like people make mistakes. Like I make mistakes all the time,
Yeah.
and I have to be able to understand that people make mistakes. My partner's going to make mistakes, and not being able to allow them to make mistakes and grow from them, because I've gotten like feedback saying like, you know what, you're forcing me to be perfect or forcing me not to make mistakes. I feel like you're using it against me down the road. I don't think that's the case, but because again, like I'm my harshest critic, but I don't need someone to be an exact copy of me. I need someone just to be okay in themselves. And you kind of feel like if it's outside pressure to be something that you're not, then it's not gonna work. It has worked in the past, and it's not gonna work in a person. I'm not looking for someone's perfection. I'm looking for someone that's able to be comfortable in their own skin and be like, you know what, there's certain things I can do, there's certain things I can't do, there's certain things I'm better at doing, there's certain things you're better at doing. But we work together as a team, work together as a unit, and hopefully we'll work together in a partnership/marriage.
I'm going to say amen to that, sir.
I think those are two.
There are going to be a lot of us there. So, kind of tying into what we're talking about now, we're talking about relationships, and I want my vision is I want women to see how men think, and then they also can go in and reflect and say, how am I thinking? How close to that am I? Where are we meeting in the middle? I didn't know that. This is what I'm thinking. So, for all of you, I'm going to start with Sean. What would you say are your deal breakers, and have they changed since your divorce?
Yes, they have changed. Um, so it goes back to the first part about respect and being on the same page. So for me, a deal breaker is the words you choose, and how you speak of me and us to others. It was something that I always knew, but I negotiated it. And I think I saw Felicia in the comments say, "Keep your family out of your marriage."
Yeah.
Yeah, that for me is very important, and I extend that to friends. Who you seek counsel in is very important. And if the woman that I'm with cannot know how to seek out wise counsel, because you're going to need it,
Yeah.
but just willingly shares with all the wrong people, that for me is a deal breaker, because that sows seeds of destruction in a relationship. I'm not saying it's the only thing or that alone, but it's a big contributing factor to problems down the line.
I like that. All right, I'm gonna go to Christopher. What are deal breakers for you?
Um, just a lack of understanding. And I mean, I know that's really vague, but it goes back to what I started with, you know that you're one person, your partner is different. How eager are you to bridge, how eager are you, how much do you want to bridge that gap, knowing fully well that you're not from the same place that other person is from, you don't see the world the same way. How willing are you to, gosh, how willing are you to bridge? How much do you want to bridge that gap, in the sense that even when you don't understand, you take the time to understand? Because I speak to a lot of friends, I see stuff on TV, I see my family sometimes go through it, and it's such a basic way to end arguments. One person feels like the other person is always wrong. If you would only do something different. And it's like, it happens so much that I think a lot of people feel like the best way to get around this is just be patient and deal with it, because nobody's perfect. You do definitely have to kind of give people some space. But I feel like if you want peace in life, you have to be with somebody who is eager to walk that battle with you. There's so many people who talk about they're willing to fight for relationships, but when it comes down to it, they're not really willing to do anything. They're not really willing to do anything. And I think it comes from understanding. You know, back in the day, I used to think that finding the one was almost like finding your twin sister, or if you are a man, finding your twin. Sorry, if you're a woman, finding your twin brother. And I kind of realized, no, you guys could be like apples and oranges. But if you have that respect there, and obviously, you know, all of us here, we've been harping on about respect. And I think respect definitely comes into it, because when you don't understand, when you've reached the limits of your understanding, respect will take you a very long way. I don't understand what the hell that guy is talking about, but I respect him. So I'm going to try my best to listen a little longer to see where he's coming from, and not just shut it down and be like, yeah, you're wrong. I don't understand you. And of course, it's vice versa. You know, it's easy for me to kind of say it myself, but every good partner needs to be able to have that kind of understanding for their significant other. But as you asked me, what is a deal breaker? A severe lack of understanding is a deal breaker. And that manifests itself in many ways I wouldn't really want to kind of take up all the time.
Okay, I like that. I'm kind of thinking, because I've been seeing people in the chat before I go to you, Honor and David. I've been seeing people in the chat talking about, because we, you know, Sean has some family in the chat, and the thing is, I like his, particularly as a Nigerian, so it's a two-edged sword. You bring your family into an issue, whether it's a relationship or a marriage. Once you guys have made up, they still remember all the stuff that happened. They approach with that energy. And the funny thing is, my brother, the one who's on the line right now, Christopher, he's Mr. Philosophy. So when I ask him a question, his answer could be, so what do you think? Like, he has a way of, so he won't ride me and, you know, go in a black van, all black, and curse him out. He'll ask, he's always asking questions. So it's like, it doesn't matter what I say to him. He has a different way of coming back. No, have you thought of it like this? So what do you think? Well, you know, he never really slices and dices the person, which is helpful, because that makes me think. So when I go to him, I know he's not going to say, oh, you're right, you did it right, He has a way of doing it. But when you have, usually my sisters, they'll come in, we'll cuss them out, listen, you know, you want to go in a truck, you want to get a gun, you want to do this, where should we bury the body, that kind of move. So it's like, I know by the time I've calmed down, they're still hot about it. So that is the disadvantage of bringing your family. But at the same time, which is why I said it's a double-edged sword, you need to know which of your family members you're going to. So if you have someone who's cool, calm, and collected, they can see both sides and tell you where you're wrong when you can't see it, and you should be able to listen. So that's the thing about bringing your family in. And of course, we're talking about wise counsel. You meet someone, and we discussed this last week, and I think Sinead brought it up when she was saying it makes sense. I don't know if guys do that, and I wonder if you guys do that. So if you have someone important for family, people you trust, to vet this candidate. So Opie, did we vet anyone for you?
I don't know, you know, but I mean, you guys, no, but you guys are good in general. I mean, I understand what Sean means. It's definitely very true. My wife says that a lot, because it's true. You know, you say something to somebody, they carry that anger, and then, you know, by the time it's over, they still hold it. But I would say that not everybody is like that. And when you are searching for somebody to speak to, you could go to your friends, and they could be the very worst ones you could speak to. And then, you know, if you do have, like, I don't really want to say mature family members, but just members that you know you can trust to just have, there's nothing any of my brothers and sisters can tell me about their partners, as long as we're not talking about domestic violence or anything of that nature. There's nothing you can tell me about your significant other that I won't hold a kind of dispassionate respect for that person, because just in general, and this is the thing that I was saying before about understanding somebody else, I will ride with my siblings, but I know that that person on the other side has another story, and their story could make me really upset with my siblings. So even if I'm taking your side, I know that I have to give that person respect, and it is very important. But yeah, I want to stop there. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, OP. So David, I'm coming to you, sir. Did we talk about deal breakers yet with you? All right, please let's hit it. Let me hear your deal breakers. Have they changed since you've got married, or do you just have these things that you kind of go by?
So they've definitely they've changed. But I would say, you know, just to piggyback on what was being said before, I think the problem is often the fact that when we have a good time, we don't also tell our family. When the
Yeah.
sex is bomb and the brother hit it out of the park and you just went straight to sleep after the whole session, you don't call
We
them and
don't talk
say,
about that, sir.
yeah, that's the point. You don't you don't give them a balanced picture to say,
That's
like,
true.
oh, it was great. And if you've ever gone to a therapist or a pastor for counseling, they would ask you about the good times. When you talk about all the bad things, they'll ask you, okay, that there's one show on YouTube I usually watch called Couples Court, and it's a couple that are the judges. And whenever you come there and you say, "Oh, he's cheating," and whatever, they're like, "Oh, there must have been a time it was really good. Tell us about that time." And you see the woman or you see the man grinning and smiling, yeah, and he put it on me like this, and he did this, and it just kind of gives you like a balanced picture again and brings things back to your mind, and and helps you reflect and not just feel like it's all doom and gloom, because it's never is you know so it's like one guy who came and said, we never have sex and all that, and then the judge is like, but you have two kids. He's like, yeah, apart from that time. And it's like, you guys must have been doing something. But to get back on track, so what are deal breakers? I think for me, the first thing, and I never like to be churchy or whatever, but for me, if you're not a Christian, you're cancelled. And I don't mean that in the cancel culture term. I just mean like, it's not, I'm not considering that, just because for me, I don't want to be unequally yoked with someone who's
Unequally yoked, yeah.
and I don't just say that as a Christian political, but just to say, it won't work out for us that way. And then I think respect is another big thing for me. Like respect is pretty important, and I think respect often reflects itself in different ways. Because a lot of people say respect, but sometimes it's not passed across. And I really understood this as a Nigerian, as a Yoruba guy,
Uh-huh.
um, because my partner is African, but not Nigerian and not Yoruba.
Where's she from?
So she's from Southern Africa.
Oh, she's South African. Okay.
No, she's Zimbabwean, but Southern Africa.
Okay.
Basically. Yeah. So, but the interesting thing is, they used to say that Yoruba people are people who, they kneel down and greet in the morning.
Yes.
They kneel down and greet
Yes. You teach
and
her
all
now.
this kind of stuff. And all this kind of stuff. Our definition of respect is different.
Yeah.
Compared to people like Mr. Onu and some other people, it's just mindset of Nigerians, basically. I'm just saying. So when we eventually got together, it's like, my concept is quite different from what you understand as respect. And same thing with my family. My family are like, but this is how, like, Yoruba girl should whatever. I'm like, yeah, you said the main word. She's not Yoruba, so just get that out of your mind. You can't expect that from, and that whole understanding of, this, we're different. And I think that's what your brother was saying, which I really respect, highlighting that point. Like, people are different and you have to really be ready to absorb. Same thing with, it's like you're getting married to an American and then you're saying like, I don't like mac and cheese. Let's not eat mac and cheese. Are you joking? Like, or cornbread or like colored greens. Like, these are like, what I'm saying. So when we get married, it's like, oh, I like my egusi soup and I like my, she's like, oh, what is this? This tastes awful. What, blah, 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 but you know what I'm saying? I like to eat jollof rice, so, and then when we get together and then you're like, we start adjusting. Okay, she eats a little bit of jollof rice. I'm a Yoruba guy. I like spicy food. She doesn't like spicy food. She upgraded her spice level a bit, and my spice level went down a bit when I went back to Nigeria, and they gave me kilishi, which is very spicy.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm having heartburn, and my mom is like, "Are you serious? This is what you ate growing up?" I'm like, well, I got married to a woman who doesn't like a lot of spice and whatever, So I'm just saying all these kind of things to say that, you kind of level up in a different way and you kind of like understand that. And that's to me what I call respect, As Yoruba boy, I cook in the kitchen, I clean, I wash the dishes and all this kind of stuff. My wife is also, So you kind of like come to that middle ground where you're like, this is understanding, this is respect. And to me, I think that's oftentimes where people get it wrong. You expect that people kind of fit into your you know, cookie cutter kind of
Yeah.
mindset. But when you get into married, it's different. It's just like when you get married to someone who is got kids, you have to understand those kids, they never talk to you in the midnight. You never told them, I love you, I'll go to the sun and moon for you and whatever. They don't even know you. You're just some dude off the street. So what you want to be doing is trying to be on their good books. Take them, get ice cream, get to know them, they don't they're not supposed to give you any sort of respect or whatever. They don't know you like that. So you have to understand that. And then you can't be telling the woman how she's supposed to discipline her kids and others. So it's just that understanding of the dynamics of human beings and human relationship and how we move. It's pretty important to me. And so that's the whole concept of saying respect. You have to understand where we're coming from. When she
Hmm.
meets my family, she kneels down, whatever. When she meets her mom and her parents, they just hello mommy and they walk away. To me, it's like, but you guys are Africans. This is not how
The
Africans
culture
do.
is
But no,
different because
that's how
even
they
parts of
do.
Nigeria, they don't do that. They don't dobale. So yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So you see, it's all that accepting people and understanding. And then the last thing I'll probably just say is that for me personally, I want someone who has some ambition, who has some drive, who has something they're looking to
Okay.
achieve. I said it before. It's probably like my Nigerian whatever roots, but I'm not looking for someone who's just gonna be like I'm okay
Bring your
just staying
basin
back.
to wash your hands and kneeling down.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Not all this kind of stuff. Yeah, you have to have some drive and some passion, something you're looking for. You know, um, and I think I've said a lot of things, but if I just say, to find the one, I would say to people that first thing first, deepen your relationship with God. And when I say deepen your relationship with God, I'm not saying get deep. Deep is a Christian colloquial that people use in the church. When they say something, say, "Oh, in Jesus," "Oh, you believe," "Oh, faith." No, no, no. Get deep in your relationship with God. Have a relationship with God. Be fully open to God to tell Him that what, this is where I'm at. This is my situation. And understand that God loves you regardless of what you have done. When you have that understanding, and the partner also have that understanding, the relationship is not coming off of a performance-based perspective. It's not from a point of you did something wrong, so I'm going to throw you off. It
Mm.
now becomes a relationship of, we make mistakes, we can get along, we can, there's still some form of respect and love, even if burnt all the plantain and the soup is not nice or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's some kind of understanding, there's some kind of love that's still there. And that's invest in yourself. It makes you attractive as a mate. Get something that you're passionate about doing,
Yeah.
something you want to achieve. Get to know yourself, what you want and what you bring to the table as well, because it gives you an understanding of where you're coming from, and then be intentional in dating. Make it clear what you want, what you're looking for, and also require the person to tell you what they're looking for.
Hmm.
Sometimes people go on dates and they're talking about, so where do you live? So if we get together, what's going to happen after that? Blah 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 blah. But you need to talk about critical things that are really important. And have that understanding, and just have valuable information. A question, just to round up, a question was asked in the last ladies one that you did last week, and someone was saying, like, oh, about love and all that, and I was saying, like, for me, I think a relationship and love is risky, regardless of whatever. The only point is you make the risky decision having valuable information and a support and validation from God. That's it.
Mm.
Just get very vital information, get all the critical information, and get God's approval. Then go ahead, knowing that there will be ups and downs, knowing that there will be challenges,
Yeah.
knowing that there'll be, yeah, and then you'll be willing to walk through them. Don't just go in and say, because I prayed and God told me, and God, as a matter of fact, if God tells me that you are the one for me, I won't even tell you. I'll just pray to God and say, God should tell you as well. I'm not
Revelation.
going to come and,
Revelation. Yes.
yeah. So,
Yes.
I'll just leave it there.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Very interesting. Dr. O,
Yes,
did I ask
yes.
you about did I ask you about your deal breakers yet, sir?
You have not asked me about my deal
Okay,
breakers.
we're ready to hear you, sir.
Ready here. I mean, this is definitely a great conversation. I wish I had anything else to add, but I definitely think respect is one of the things that most people look for.
Mm-hmm.
And again, something definitely I look for, but it's like, how do you see respect? And I think, I mean, it's kind of hard to quantify down to, let's say, one or two definitions. But I think
Mm-hmm.
one thing for me is like arguing effectively. Like, it's how do we come to like resolution, like in a calm, not in a calm manner, but like in a reasonable manner. Like when arguments, people are going to, someone's going to be right, wrong, someone's going to have the winning argument, not winning argument. Is that going to be held against me, or is there some way that we can both find a way to resolve things in a peaceful, or things in a peaceful or mature manner? That's something definitely that's important, definitely important to me. um I know I want to live in a Christian household, so
Mm-hmm.
I know in the past, like, I might not have picked the right mate and have been trying to force the mate into fit into my life versus trying to search for a mate that includes that. So I'm always, one of the things I definitely look for is like exactly how, what drives a person, what's going to pretty much drive the person in that household. Like, do they want to follow Christian values, or do they want to follow non-Christian values? And if I want to be a Christian man, and I think that's important, I want to have a spouse that has those things, because I'm a firm believer in like attracts like. So you want to make sure those things align, so you don't have discernment, or don't have problems down the road. I've known in the past when I'm just like, you go after the prettier object, or you go after, you know what, I like this shiny toy, and I'm trying to fit it into what I have, right? Fit, like, I guess, fit a round object to a square hole. It's not going to work out. So you have to make sure that you find objects that can fit inside your house, and know exactly why they're fitting in there. So I think that's definitely important. So if being a Christian is important to me, is being a Christian important to her, and exactly how does that look like for her? Because that can always be a difference. So having that person explain that to you in time, I think that's important. I think it's understanding culture backgrounds. So one of my components is like, you don't have to be Nigerian. You don't have to be Nigerian, but you need to understand. You need to understand what being a Nigerian is, but more importantly, understand being a query. That's, to me, is kind of a deal breaker, because if I want to know you for who you are, and vice versa. And I've been with people like, okay, it's like they don't want to put the investment inside you. It's more like what you can do for me. So that's one of the things that I look for. It's like, okay, someone willing to learn what the characteristics that made who I am, and also willing to go to those places, figure those things out. So I shouldn't have to force you to take a trip to Nigeria. I shouldn't have to force you to spend time with my family. I shouldn't have to force you to do things. That should be something that should be coming generosity from out your heart. Because vice versa, I'm going to try to inquire those things myself. I'm going to find out who your parents are, where you come from, and those exact things. So I think those things go hand in hand. Um, I think, like, when it comes to like my friends, or my close friends, like, I don't want to have to lose friends in order to keep a relationship going. I
Mm.
noticed in the past I've had friends who, like, they've gotten girlfriends, they've gotten wives. It's like once they made those decisions, it's like you had to lose out on your own friendship, or you want to be able to talk to that person. And I'm understanding when people get into relationships that tends to happen, but I shouldn't have to be an afterthought, or I shouldn't have to be forgotten about for you to succeed. I think that happens a lot, and I know I made a promise to myself, like, if I'm going to have a spouse, I don't want my spouse to have forced me to lose my friends, and vice versa. I don't want to be in a relationship and be like, you know what, you can't talk to the good people in your life, or talk to certain people in order for in order for our relationship to succeed. Now, if there's some reason or some bad connotation to that, I kind of feel like, okay, that might be, I don't like how this person reacts when you're around, etc. I get that, but for the most part, like, I feel like I have good friendships I've cherished for a long period of time. I don't want to lose those in order to have a relationship succeed. So, but I'm not gonna say superficial deal breakers, but I do have some I do hold dear to my heart. Number one, Ethiopian food. I
Mm.
can't do it. So I'm just like, it's not going to work. Like, if you love Ethiopian food, you can go with your friends Ethiopian food. Onu's not going to eat Ethiopian food. Number two, raisins do not belong in potato salad. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I've seen it happen. I'm not gonna. I love food too much to have to endorse myself to do that. And 3, ketchup does not belong in jollof rice. I'm just gonna say it here.
I've never seen that. I'm not even going to ask you about it. I'm just going to leave that alone.
It doesn't belong in jollof rice. So I'm just saying, just in case you're trying to surprise me, do something like that. I'm just like, I'm not gonna be able to do it.
I'm with you, sir. I'm with you.
I think those. I mean, for the pork, I'm not sure if I missed anything else, but definitely some things to add. But I think those 3. I think if we can get those squared away, I think I'll be good.
All right, cool. Sean, what's up? I know you've got something to throw at us right now.
Sure. So listen, anybody out there looking for Ono, you're not evenly yoked if the food ain't right. So just get your menus and your recipes together. But all jokes aside, Ono, you said one thing that I just want to kind of, from my perspective, just tweak a little bit. You mentioned about those friends. And one thing that I've always known in a marriage, in a relationship, if we all can't be friends, then we can't be friends. You know what I'm saying? So if you can't respect and you're my friend and you don't have respect for my wife, you speak ill of my wife, I don't care what that friendship looks like, we can't be friends. And that's my expectation from her as well. And especially when it comes to same-sex friendships, right? So if your wife, your woman, has a male friend and him and I can't be friends, he gotta go. Because that means something's not right. If we can't get on the same page, then he gotta go. And the same for me. And I've done it. So I'm not just talking, I've done it. When it comes to female friends that I've had, if they can't respect my marriage and respect my wife, it makes her feel uncomfortable. You got to go.
Loving it.
The last thing I wanted to say was I love that we're all Christians here and believers, but I think the next step piece that I've learned too is Christianity is great, but that relationship with God is more important. I'll take that any day. Because you can believe in Jesus Christ, you can confess him, or you could have done it eons ago, but what's your relationship like with today?
Boom.
So.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Thank you very much for adding and tweaking that, because that's important. It makes us think of, what was that last season on Maps? Was it Virginia? Was it Virginia and homie Eric, the one who had these weird friends you sleep on? Nah. As a woman, that made no sense to me. It shouldn't happen today, tomorrow. So yeah, that's a good thing to add. Now I want to kind of pick it up, make it a little interesting and see, because we're warming up, but there's some real questions. So I'm going to start with my brother. Bro, physical type, do you have one? And what does it look like? I mean, it looks like your wife. Sorry. Your physical type looks like your wife. But before then, I'm not trying to cause any trouble, but before then, when you were maneuvering out there in the streets, was that always your type, or did you switch? Were there certain things that were more important to you?
No, they always look like my wife. Always, really.
Hey.
I love you, wife, if you're listening. So.
That's why I put you first. I don't expect to say much, sir. But yeah, so yeah. So let me ask you this before I move on. In your opinion, you look at your boys, is there like a variation? Do guys typically always kind of have a physical type, or they go across the board, or it just depends?
No, definitely there's variation. It's so funny. I went for, I think it was like a game show, and just before we had to go on air, I think there were like 6 men, six women, and I don't know how we got into this, where they were like, okay, can you write the celebrity that you have a crush on? And I realized the guys, it was like, it was a while ago, so it was like Beyonce, this, but there was variation. But when I heard from the woman, it was like DMX. Now I'm aging this conversation because, rest in peace, DMX, but it was like DMX and somebody else. And it literally was like all the 6 women were like, okay, cool, DMX this, DMX. someone else. I feel like with the men that I know, there's definitely variation. Some people only like petite women. Some people like women who are like 5'9", 5'10". Some people like women with like natural hair. Some people want women to have straight hair. So there's definitely a lot of variation. I think anything more, and that's not decent conversation, but there's definitely a lot of variation in what people like. So yeah, I'll stop there.
Thank you, sir. Sean, talk to me about this. You have a physical type. Has that changed or always been a certain way?
No. And anybody, check me if I'm, missing something. But no, I don't think so. If you look at, from my ex-wife to women that I've dated and been in relationships with, it's a variety. I mean, you'll see a commonality, I would say. But some of the women I've dated have had natural hair. Some of the women that I've dated have had straight hair. Some have had curly hair. I would say this. I like natural. So whatever your hairstyle is, it's the natural for me. Whether it's short, I've dated a woman that had very short hair, extremely short. Like she could go to the barber, and it worked, and she looked beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was fine for me. But I guess it's more of the natural for me. But again, things have changed and evolved. But if I would look at one consistent thing, I like natural hair. Not too much makeup. Just your natural beauty, your natural essence. Spice it up a little. I like a woman who likes to wear heels. So not all the time, but at the right time.
Hello. Sisters, shoot your shot. All right. Coming to you, Onu. You're a single man, so fire away. Do you have a physical type? And has it been consistent or does it change?
I mean, I would say I have a physical. I mean, yes, I would say I have a physical type. I think it definitely has changed over the years. I think I've matured over the years. I think like in the past, I will go after the light skinned girl with the long hair, the slim physique, etc. And I've noticed how that didn't work out in the past, and like I had to readjust and change, and then like I guess even mature. I'm like, exactly what am I looking for a woman? And I think inner beauty is definitely what I appreciate a lot more. Does someone have confidence in themselves and way their appearance is? Because if they don't have confidence in themselves, they're still have to be confident in somebody else. So I think that's important. So again, can I date someone with natural? Can I be with someone who has natural hair or short hairstyle? I mean, that of course. I wouldn't say that it had to. I think in the past it had to look like a particular way that you will see in the magazines or see portrayed through the media. I think I've matured from that, and I think I'm looking beyond those type of features. I'm not looking for someone that's a size 2 or size like a size 2, size 4 is anorexic. I mean, you know what? I understand women come in different shapes and sizes. I think being healthy and living a healthy lifestyle, it means a lot more than how fit somebody is. I mean, newsflash, I'm 5'10" and a half, I'm 175 pounds. Like typically I've been the smaller person in every relationship I've been in. So it's just one of those things I have to I have to adjust to. I've been trying to gain weight throughout my entire life. It's not happening. I guess I have high metabolism. So I'm just like, hey, it is what it is. But at the same time, it's just like, okay, I think someone with unhealthy habits is going to be a lot more. It's going to be a lot more detrimental to someone just based on their weight and just how the way they look. I think mental capacity definitely matters as well. I think being able to hold a conversation is important, and it doesn't mean we have to hold a medical conversation. Like we can talk about anything and everything, and that's what definitely something I'm looking for. I'm not looking for. I have enough friends who speak medical jargon for a lifetime. I want to have someone that can share a life with. So again, things like food, things like cooking, things like travel, things like fashion. Are we able to talk about other things not just what I do for a living. Because again, like that to me sounds so artificial. I don't like talking about work to people who I don't work with. So if that's one of the things I definitely look for, I look for. Um, I think the mental capacity is definitely, and falling back to Christianity, exactly how does a Christian household looks? How's a Christian man? How's a Christian woman look? To me, that plays a lot more. That plays a part of it, even it might not be physical trait, but again, what am I going to admire too? And if I feel like if we're not equally yoked, then it just doesn't matter exactly how you look on the outside. If on the inside, I don't see what's there. I don't see what I want to be there.
Okay. And let me ask you this, since we're on it and you're one of the single guys, have you found yourself wanting to be with a woman of a particular type, but always finding yourself dating the opposite of what you think you should be with?
I would say so. I would say so. I think like in the past, like, if I would be, I guess, attracted to the shiny object, like, okay, this looks nice. Let's see how this works out. And I've watched that deteriorate or watch that not work out so many times. Like, you know what? I have to I have to not go I have to not go that route. I have to figure out exactly what's causing me to, like, okay, abandon what I'm looking for and just get attracted to what the shiny object that I'm seeing. So the more that I'm taking time, like, step back, think about exactly what I want my future wife to look like, or what I want my future marriage to look like, or what I want that relationship to look like, and what are the characters that person needs to have. When I compare it to that mate, it's kind of like I have the reasons why we won't work out versus these are the reasons why things will work out. And I guess that's what I'm trying to move towards. Like, I want to find a person, like, you know what? Everything that I see that I need in a relationship, I see in her. Let me put all the effort into her for this to work out versus, like, you know what? Yes, it was good for right now. Yes, I was attracted to. Yes, it was. There's attraction, maybe even lust factor into it. But again, long term, there's nothing here. Why am I continuing this journey?
David, before I come to you, I want to ask this question to Sean. Have you wanted, same question, like, told yourself this is the kind of woman I should be with, but found yourself being or dating the opposite of what you think you should be dating?
From a physical aspect or just in general?
How about both?
Okay. Yes and yes.
You want to tell us a little bit more about that?
And in my younger 20s, when I was, single, I definitely thought I had a type then, but that type that I thought I had wasn't what I found myself with. And I found that I had more fun and experiences when I stopped leading with a type and just let, I guess, the law of attractions kind of lead itself. So, we pick up on a vibe, a chemistry, how we converse with one another, being in a mutual space and an environment and seeing how our energy is. And then we take it from there. So I think when you operate from without that superficial lens, I mean, we're always going to have what we're attracted to. It's going to be natural. But I think when you're not just chasing something very specific, I think you're going to get a better option that's going to come your way. And another thing, in my past, like right before, like maybe in my 30s, right before I got married, was dead set on not dating anyone with kids. Like, it was just,
okay.
It was a deal breaker. I was not interested. And lo and behold, I find myself getting married to somebody that has 2 kids.
Wow.
And from their first marriage. So that for me was a complete shock, not just to myself, but probably to a lot of folks in my circle, because they would have never imagined that I would have gone down that path. Now, would I do it again? That's the $1 million question. I might, but I hope that answers your question.
But so the connection was strong enough that you forgot what your little, she must not have kids would be.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to come back to this, but I'm going to let you sit down for a second. David, I haven't had you answer this question yet. Do you have a physical type, sir? Has it changed since you got married, or was it consistent?
So my physical type is pretty much the same. It hasn't changed. Specifically, I like people who are petite. It's or who are not plus size, or who are not big. It's just my preference. And in a lot of ways, I'm kind of a bit like Ono as well. I'm less than a 6 in height, so I'm not like looking for someone who's gonna be like my older brother when we go out in the stores or something like that. So I mean, obviously, it doesn't mean like she has to be like my younger sister or something like that. But I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to date an NBA player or something like that where it's going to look so obvious, and all those kind of things. But then in terms of body type, personally, I just would, I'm just so attracted to someone who's sort of like very big or plus size and what have you. But in terms of, I think I like what your brother said, the fact that the women probably don't have a lot of, because as an engineer, I would say like, a man is made, a woman is constructed. And what I mean is that, like there's a lot of,
break it down.
there's a lot of curvatures, there's a lot of contours, there's a lot of nuances and a lot of beauty being put into it, and it's just God's creativity and all of that. So obviously the women might probably narrow it down to, I want a guy who's tall, who's got 6 packs, and who's this particular complexion. But for us as guys, there's more detail into it, because that's what God has presented us with. You might want someone with natural hair, you might want someone who's got big on the backside, who's got big on the front, whatever. There's more detail into it. So obviously the ladies might just go for one, and the guys have more options to go around with and things like that. But in terms of like all those, in terms of preference, in terms of physicality, I would just say, apart from the height and the not being plus size or being big, every other thing, I think I'm a bit flexible about. I'm not looking for big bum or big boobs or whatever, those kind of things. I'm pretty much flexible about all those kind of things, because for me, again, I feel like the whole body is a case. It's just a house and all that kind of stuff. So, and if there's anything that you learn when a woman gives birth, there's body changes, there's transformations and things like that happens. So at the end of the day, I just trying to hold on to some body, some flesh that's going to change and going to, have differences over time and all those kind of things.
But let me ask you this. I hear what you're saying. I like what you're saying, and it's the right thing to say. But when you first met your wife, let's talk about your wife. When you first met her and first saw her, did you know that this was someone that was going to be special, or it just kind of grew into that?
No, I did not. I did not, honestly. I did not. I did not. I mean, we met at like a sort of Bible study, whatever thing on campus.
Okay. Go ahead, Christian brother.
I knew that was coming.
Because after David from Ready to Love, we ain't trying to meet anybody in church. I'm just saying.
No, please don't. Yeah, but anyways, like, we met like that, and it was just me just being me, and just doing my own thing. She said she checked me out first and whatever, and all those kind of things. And all those kind of things. I didn't see it or wasn't looking for it, and all those kind of things at the time. And then after a while, I kind of like caught on, like, oh, okay, I see you, and all those kind of things. And there were definitely other people who were interested or who wanted to be with me and things like that. For different reasons. I obviously did not choose them, but I think one of the things was I did meet a person who was pretty interesting at the time, but I would say at that time I didn't think I had. Let me just say I didn't think I was ready to handle that kind of a person. And the reason why I said that, why I say that is like, it's sort of like you've got someone who is, it's sort of like a single brother, meeting someone who's got two kids, for example. There's a lot that comes with that, and you need to weigh it out if you're actually ready and can handle that. That's one thing. Another thing is, for example, if the lady is 5 years, 10 years older than you know, where's your mindset in that? Are you okay to date someone as a man, date a woman who's 10 years, 5 years, whatever number of years older than you, and all those kind of things? So that's why I said at the end of the day, this whole kind of the soulmate thing all comes down to who you choose. Because for whatever it might be, God might be saying a woman with two kids is who He's created for you, or who He wants for you. You might not be in that space of mind to be able to handle that. And you might say, you know what, I'd rather go for someone who's single and never had a kid before. It might be someone who's 10 years older than you. You might say, oh no, I don't want to be with that. I want to be with. So, but then that's sort of like how that happened. But in terms of physical, going back to the whole physical type thing, I think one thing I found out is like whenever I've ever dated someone who is not that physical type, for example, someone who's big, someone who is I've
You said
I've
someone
found
who's
that-
big?
yeah, by my own definition.
What's your definition for big? Do you have a number?
It's kind of okay. I'll just give you an example. To me, Sean is laughing like,
John is like,
"Bro,
you're about to enter the dark
don't
hole.
dig yourself, don't dig yourself into the dark hole." Oh my god!
Sean
I'm
looking
like,
out for his brother. He's like, don't
yeah,
do it.
I'm like, Lola, no, she's gonna kill me. But for me, I would say, just give an example. So, I'll say Tressa.
That's too big for you?
To me, Tressa is big for me.
Okay.
And why do I say that? Not necessarily relative to myself, but relative to I think you guys know better about the whole body mass index thing. And to me, I think that's one thing that I kind of use to sort of gauge that. Someone like Venetia is not. And why do I say that? It's the whole BMI thing.
Curvy.
The
She's
fact
very
that
curvy.
apart from she's curvy, she's tall. She's a lot taller than Tressa. And so the weight distribution is quite different.
It's different.
So that's what I'm saying. It's not in relative to me. It's just a matter of, the weight distribution is quite different when you're tall and you're a bit, plump, thick, chubby, whatever you want to call it, as opposed to if you're short, and you've got like, all of the fat sort of in one side of the body and all those kind of things. So, but basically, when I've ever dated someone who is not that, I find myself kind of like, doing like that, and I never like that. I never like that. You're with someone, but then, you see your type go by and you're like, damn, girl, I don't. I'm a very honest and faithful person, so I don't like that kind of situation. So I feel like I'm just gonna be, I don't want to say the Yoruba word, but I'm just going to be longing for something that's just So
that's not
I'd
yours.
rather
You're
just
not meant
be
to
with
have.
So I'd rather just be with what I
Okay.
know that I'm happy with.
I got you. Now I'm going to come to something big. I really want us to be real about this. So when you're talking with someone, you meet someone, like, do you guys, in vetting a partner, and let me even ask this. One, when you guys meet someone, when do you decide that this is going to be an important relationship? And then do you vet the person? And then more importantly, in terms of my pointer here, do you guys talk about cheating? And when I say talk about cheating, does it come to a conversation where you're asking, has she cheated? Are you not confessing to the cheaterization? And can it be a deal breaker? Or is it like a conversation? What happened? How did it go? So I don't know who would like to answer this first. I'm not even going to start pointing down that many of us, but in terms of cheating, I think this is a big topic. And I know more often than not, women always forgive it. A guy will say, well, I did, and then she's like, well, okay. She's thinking, oh, well, he won't do it with me. But as a man, when you're talking with a woman and you talk about this, if she says she has, what do you do next? And how do you determine how you're going to move? Sean, you're looking right at me. Looks like you can answer this question.
I'm gonna give it my level best.
All right, sir.
That's a deal breaker for me. I'm sorry. And I'll say this.
Mm-hmm.
If it happened in the past and it wasn't in the context, I've thought about this a lot lately, right? Is it cheating if you're not married? So
that's true.
In a committed relationship and you cheated, how long ago? How long ago did it take place? What's the context? How did I find out about that taking place? Did you share it with me proactively, or did it just kind of slip out or come up, or because because I think, and that goes back to that safe place thing. Like we have to be able to be transparent, and none of us is perfect into any relationship, and we're gonna bring some level of baggage at a certain stage and age in life where we are. So if my woman came to me and said like, hey, listen, this happened, and we were in conversation and we're talking about something, and she explained, and she was able to say, hey, listen, this is what I walked away from it with. This is what I learned from that particular situation. I can move forward. Now you cheat on me, I'm out. It's not going to be a conversation. It's not, and I hold myself to the same standard.
Okay.
I'm married. I'm not cheating. I'm not going to try to justify it. I believe in that. I think you should, if you are married, your needs should be met by the woman that you're with. And if that's not happening, we work it out. If we can't work it out, we figure it out until we decide we can't be together. Right. But the cheating part are ultimate deal breakers for me. That's a non-negotiable when it comes to me. In your past, I know it took me a little while to get there, but in your past, there is some room for me to understand that based on the circumstance.
Okay. Anu, what's up?
There's some things God's still working on me, so I'm just like, hey, look, I'm not gonna condone cheating. Let's put it that way. My first relationship I was in, I think we had like a huge argument over it's like a Christmas break. She went home. I think she went out with her first boyfriend. They had a little rendezvous, and like she kind of things happened, and she tried to come back to me, explain what happened. At the time I was like livid. I didn't even want to listen to her. I don't know exactly what I've said to her, but I'm like I'm not even sure. It took me a while to even forgive her, but I was like, you know what? There was no way I was going back after that point. I think that to me was the deal breaker then. I think it goes down to trust and respect. It was like, there's no way, even though if we had an agreement at that point, how can I trust and respect you when you're willing to run to the comfort of another man versus explain things to me? So that was my thought process back then. I was a younger, immature, more ratchet individual, and I get that. I don't see myself. I think I would be able to reason a lot more, but like I can still remember like how boiling mad I was during that whole fiasco. I don't think I've never would say I cheated in a relationship or even cheated to get out of a relationship. To me, that's definitely a huge deal breaker.
I like that.
That's definitely something.
Two things, yeah.
Yeah, definitely something I would even address in the courting phase and get to know someone phase. Again, when things don't work out, like what is your exit strategy? If your exit strategy is like, you know what, I'm gonna run to somebody else, at least that's like the heads up for me to like, okay. exit left immediately, because I don't want to be left looking a fool, and vice versa. I don't want to act recklessly and have someone else feel that the same way. That's just me.
Okay. All right. So so I just want to confirm. So you said you haven't been forgiven for cheating.
Well, I haven't cheated, so I never had to ask for forgiveness for cheating.
Okay. I was coming through the back door to ask you that question.
Has people cheated on me? People's cheated on me. Yes, they have.
Yeah, you said. Yeah, you just. Said
I mean, right now there's a friend request in my IG that still says, "Do you want to be friends?" Follow back. It's been unread for like how many years now? So I'm just saying.
Snap! It's like that.
It's like, hey, my petty goes deep.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna take this. Christopher. Where is he? Yeah, good.
I'm
So,
here.
cheating for you. Deal breaker? Is it something based on the situation?
My party line is definitely deal breaker, not permitted, but I have forgiven someone in the past. It's just that in hindsight, it wasn't a very good idea, and we were already on shaky ground. I think I forgave the person, and then I think I called her like 2 or 3 days later, and she was going out with a work colleague, and I think I just left the phone call and I called her the next day and I said we were done, and it was real brief. It was like, "Hello, how you doing? We're done. Don't speak to me again." And I think I tried to be the bigger person to get past it, but it's like what everybody's saying, the breakdown in trust. I don't know how it works. I don't know how it can work. So even on principle, when I want to say I won't forgive, I think that just the practical side, I don't know how it works. Anyway, moving on. If I was getting to know someone and they told me that they had cheated in the past, I think me being me, as long as we have some kind of connection, I'm more than likely going to. It's not my place to forgive. I'm just going to move past that. I think, yeah, I can definitely do that. But there will always be something at the back of my mind, unless there'll always be something there. So I think I'm definitely more lenient if we're talking about the past. People do all sorts of things. I do sometimes think, however, a lot of times, like 90% of the time, you cannot escape your past. So even when you're trying to be really nice, I guess it really comes down to who you are and who you're trying to look for in another person, because we all can change completely. It's just that a lot of us just choose not to. So, yeah, that's it really.
So, David, cheating. Have you been forgiven for cheating, sir? Would you forgive someone who cheated on you? How do you feel about it? Does it depend on the situation, the position?
I've never cheated before. That's one.
Okay.
Um, I think, yeah, someone has cheated on me before, but I think that was kind of like high school kind of love or high
Okay.
school relationship. So for me, I'm just like, whatever.
Did you forgive it?
I mean, at that point we were already kind of done. So
Oh,
so for me, I was just like, you know what, it's all right. So but I think I really resonate with what Chris said, in the sense that I think if someone cheated on me, I would be able to get past it. Um, Essentially because for me, I think people do grow. I think growth is real. Growth and change is real. And when I say that, I mean, like, people might have done something in their past when they were when they're in particular situations, or when they were actually when they're at a particular point in their life, and I think to sort of deny someone of the reward for growth is a bit unfair, because if someone told me that they cheated before in a relationship before we started dating, and
yeah.
because of that I'm not going to be with them regardless of what I can see at the moment, then if everyone does that, I mean, that person is probably not going to be with someone else, or or I mean, fair enough. The people who have also cheated might not even want to be with you if we all go by that kind of yardstick. So for me, I think at the end of the day, it will be just like what Chris was saying. What was the circumstances or what was the point at the time, and things like that. And can I really see a change? Can I see that this person is really for real? Now, that being said, I mean, I can agree with the point that people's past is the past is always going to be there, so you're going to always sort of think about it, if for example some kind of situation comes up and things like that. But then I think it goes to the person as well, going to prove to you that they're being changed. You can't shoot me or hurt me and be
Hmm.
telling me when I should get over the pain of it. I'm the one who's feeling the pain, not you. So you need to do things to actually help me get to that point where I actually feel that you've really changed and you're really made a U-turn. So I would forget. I would forgive a cheat, but then I would need to definitely see like, okay, there's changes, and this is the new track part we're on, and this is how you're doing things, and things like that. So
Okay. I'll take these happy responses. But yeah, so definitely cheating is a big thing, and it can mean so much more than the action itself. And I think for women, I know conversations we have, it's always, even when a woman says, you know what, cheating for me is a deal breaker and da da da, you'll always have, people, fellow women who say that, well, it's different, like just excusing or giving excuses to why you should accept it and it should be okay. So I'm hearing you guys say, and it has to be a two-way street. If you're one who's not ready to forgive it, then you definitely know that if you do it, then it's not forgiven as well. So, but then again, it's like the question is, and someone, I can't remember where it was, when someone was saying in terms of percentages of people cheating, they'd be surprised by who is guilty. And I haven't looked at it, and I don't know. It's hard to report, but I like to say that women are a lot cleaner with theirs. They wipe their mouth after they've eaten an oily dish, so you may not catch them. So it's hard to say what's what. And then you know what? Only you said something I thought was key. You said two things about cheating, which is they're different things, but it really is big. One is, okay, you're cheating because blah 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 blah, whatever the case may be. That you can have a bunch of reasons, but then again, you're cheating to get out of the relationship. Two different things, and that happens a lot because sometimes some guys don't want to break up with you, but they know that if they know that and they'll probably do it a couple times disrespectfully, and I use the term disrespectfully because they're doing it so you can see, because they want you to break up with them. Sounds crazy, but it happens. So that's why I know for cheating, it's like important. I just wanted to get your opinion as to what you think about it and how it usually happens. And so kind of going on to my next thing, right? I'm just going to throw it out there. Sex versus love is like, for women, it's something different. It's like almost, for a lot of women, it's the same thing. For men, is different. And however you want to, break this down to how you want to speak about, I'm never going to tell you how you should, but how you take it, because I want to say maybe 70% of women, for them, it's literally, a lot of times it's the same thing. We joke around and say, talking about, friend of benefit situationships, all that, but 7 out of 10 times, she fall into that kind of situation, she's coming out with hurt feelings because he was clear from the beginning. So who would like to jump on this first and give me, because what I want us to do is like, do you want to tell your sister, imagine it's your sister watching us, do you want to tell her, other than just telling her don't do it, it's different for guys, it's different for guys, blah blah, how do you want to explain it so she gets, oh, this is why, like, a situationship is not going to work, this is why friends with benefits doesn't make any sense. And all right, so who would like to take this first? Go ahead.
so I'm the opinion of women lose their leverage when they
Mm,
give when they give when they give that before the time. And I think Shanae made that statement on Little Black Boobs Live when we were talking about Venetia and Joe.
yeah.
And to me, I think it's a statement that a lot of people, especially ladies, don't like to hear because, we're in this era of sexual freedom, women
Mm,
empowerment. Yeah, I can do it. He did it, whatever, and all those kind of things. And I feel like we're getting a little bit of we're getting a bit out of what the script is. God wrote the script in a particular way, and we're trying to sort of rewrite it. and oftentimes we get hurt and we get burnt. The reality of it is, for us as guys, whether Christian, whether Holy Ghost filled brother or whatever, we all enjoy sex, and we all enjoy and demand it or want it a whole lot more than women do, for obvious biological reasons. And so for us, that already puts the dynamics in a different point of view. The fact that you guys do it when your hormones and when your everything is lined up, as opposed to when we can just do it after having such a bad day and having such a not so good whatever, we can do it and feel okay. So that already just puts it in a different set. So for me, I would say that you lose all your leverage when you actually do that. You can multiple date people, you can multi date people, but don't multi sleep with people, or don't even sleep with people at all, because again, it actually kind of blurs your lines and makes you not to see things clearly. When a guy is doing certain things, you probably wouldn't see it very clearly, or you might see it and let it pass because you've invested sort of that connection into it. And there's actually a lot of power in sex and a lot of power in intimacy. I watched a live of KG on Chrissy's channel, and he was talking about the power of sex and was saying, like, like, he declares, I don't fully, for me, I'm a person that if I don't fully agree with what you're saying, it doesn't mean I can't pick out nuggets from there and agree upon.
Yeah.
That's just my perspective. So I don't totally agree with some other things that he was saying. You can watch that live to understand what I'm saying, but I'm not gonna give it platform here. But essentially, the point is, he was saying that when you have sex and when you climax and you orgasm, you actually can declare
Declare
things.
for things you want. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can declare for things and all of that. And to a large extent, I do agree with him in the fact that there's a lot of power in that. You know, so and to me, that says a lot of things, to say that there's a lot of power behind that activity itself, as it, for guys as well. I'm not just saying for women. For guys as well, we need to be cautious and concerned about the whole concept of having sex with just anybody. And that's why, as a Christian, maybe I might say, oh, like pornography and masturbation is a sin. But in somewhat, I see it as a lesser devil to you actually having sex with just anybody, because you actually are releasing and exchanging a lot of energies that, if you're not aligned and all those things, you end up doing yourself a lot of disservice. So the whole concept of friends with benefit and all those kind of things, it often gets blurred. The lady falls into relationship and now she wants to, yeah, let's make it serious. We have been doing this, friends with benefit for 5 years. I think we can now go to the next level. The brother is just thinking this is regular, constant good sex. That's all. He doesn't think of any, we have invested so much. What investment? He's just done is the action whenever he wants to. So you have to understand that concept. It's different for us. It's totally different. And it's not like we're just, animals or whatever. It's just our biology is totally different. Our concept of it is totally different. And I think it actually gives a woman a lot of power. Sex gives a woman a lot of power. You understand that when you're aligned with someone and when you're in a relationship with someone, you can actually understand that you have so much power to use. Obviously, you want to use it positively in the aspect of sex. The fact that Joel Austin says, like, it is a lot of responsibility, that you are the only one he can have it with, and it's a lot of power, and it's a lot of power that you are the only one he can have it with. Obviously, it doesn't mean you should use it as a weapon and all those kind of things, but then it just gives you that understanding that this is the dynamics of what we're talking about. So for me, I would say you lose your leverage and all those kind of things when you get involved in that kind of, and you guys don't have that understanding and don't have that alignment of this is where we're going. It's just to us an activity that gives us pleasure and makes us happy at the end of the day, and you might end up hurting yourself at the end of the day.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Who would like to jump on in next? Please, Sean, go ahead, sir.
So just correct me if I'm thinking the right way. The first thing you mentioned was, how do we talk to our daughter about sex in that concept, explaining
Daughter, niece, someone you
daughter
care
or
about.
niece.
So
Okay.
you want to spill the beans. You don't want to keep the
Right.
cards to your chest. You want us to know. I want someone to sit down who
Okay.
makes like you just sit down and get it from you.
So I would first just preface it by saying, just hear me out. Just hear me out before you say anything. And the first thing I would tell her is, it's a double standard. Don't try to change it. Don't try to rationalize it. Don't try to say, oh, there's plenty of women that can have sex like men.
Yeah.
Look, there's all types of double standards. Some swing in different directions. Don't get caught up in trying to rewrite a rule that's been written in time. All right. So you, as a woman, you are the receiver during sex. So you are already set up as a vessel, right? So you just want to be conscious of who you receive. The man is the giver. For us, the way we're designed, our body, our mechanics, our hormones drive us to have sex, to procreate, for enjoyment. You fill in all those gaps. That is what we are wired to do. Now, I'm not saying that women don't have sexual feelings and are not sexual. Of course they are. You know, we are designed to have sex together. So absolutely, is it pleasurable for a woman? 100%. Should it be? Absolutely. But I would just, and it's always that delicate balance. And it just brings me to a conversation. And I'm not going to, obviously share details, but I just think about my stepdaughter and the conversations that I, along with her dad, tried to have delicately around sex, because she would ask. And I would always say, you just want to be wise with your decisions. I want to tell you not to do it. I want to tell you to wait for your husband, wait for that right person, wait for a committed relationship. But I also want to give you the opposite end. Know that if something happens and something goes wrong, you bear the responsibility. And as much as it's great if that person that, the guy that's in it with you is going to step up and, do whatever you decide needs to be done, it still falls on your shoulders. So you want to understand, when you're going into it, what's the risk, right? What's at risk here? So being careful about who you choose to share your space with. I think David also just talked a lot about, the soul ties, right? What it means, and interacting, when you're having sex, that exchange, what really physically connects you to the person. And in most instances, it's the woman that's the receiver of that bears that spiritual and the potential physical, things that could come down the line if it's a child that comes into play.
Right.
So that would be my first thing, is this is why you want to just kind of think about this. And then the next thing is, understand again that men just think about sex differently. We don't necessarily connect those dots between sex and love. It didn't happen for me until I got married, right? Until I got married, I fully understood what making love was. I understood what that meant, that connection, that energy, that true next level experience happened for me in marriage. Now, that's not to say it can't happen in a relationship, but for me, that connection meant so much more in my marriage. And I think that, and you have the freedom. And I would just encourage them, like, you have the freedom in your marriage to explore any and every aspect with your mate. If you want to go out here and make mistakes, or have interactions with other men before you get married, understand those are consequences. But that marriage gives you protection, gives you a liberty and a freedom to be your full self sexually. And that's what you should want in your marriage. And so I would say that, and you're going to look for that in the marriage, but don't look for love in a man in a non-committed, non-marital situation. It's a ring toss. It might land, it might not. Most chances are it's probably not going to land because it means something different for us outside of that covenant.
Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Who would like to speak next? The option, Doctor or my brother? Who would like to jump on? Christopher, you want to take this?
Okay, cool. Yeah, of course. Okay, so first of all, I want to really understand what you were trying to get at, because obviously the second part of your question was, what would you tell your daughter or your niece? But the first part is, am I right in assuming that you're trying to find out that where do we place sex versus love, or do we see them as one and the same?
Right. So women, we see it as the same, but yeah, where do men? Thank you, reminding me. That's the first part. Where do you guys place it? Like, how is it placed?
Yeah.
Is it like different? Is it depending on however? So yes, that's true. Thank you.
No, but I just know because obviously I'm asking so I can answer the question.
I want both of them, please. I'm greedy.
I think that for me, I think sometimes we have to be careful because, I grew up reading Men Are From Mars, Women Are from Venus.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish we had more books like that now. But I have to say, when I was reading that book, a lot of times I felt like you're really putting me in this box and you're keeping me there. All this, men don't really want to be emotional. They don't want to talk about their feelings. They only want this. I've always felt like there's something wrong with that because you see all sorts of men and you see all sorts of women. Even though we might say, okay, if we're going to generalize, women maybe have a problem with casual sex. I think I've seen quite a few women that would be more than fine with casual sex, and men who really they get into problems when they have sex outside a committed relationship. So I always feel the need to kind of say, even though I do understand what my fellow brothers have been saying, that, men see sex differently, I don't think it's great to always look at it like that. Like, we see things differently. It's just a release. You have to be careful. It really has to come down to the person that you're dealing with, I just wanted to say that. Moving on, sex versus love, or is sex love? Sex is definitely not love for me, but the reason why is because, and I think this is a little bit of my what's the word, my idealistic side coming out, but you can be in love and not touch sex at all. And the way I look at love, it exists on its own. If you want to add sex to that, that's great. Why not? It's a beautiful thing. And if you're not having sex with anybody else, that's fine as well. But love is love. And so if I was going to talk to my daughter, that would be a bigger reason why I would probably say, be careful. Not necessarily because men only want sex or this or that. It's because sex is sex. Sex is sex. And love is love. And love can be, sex can be a part of love. And some people may even say love can be a part of sex. But I look at them as just totally different. And, obviously me being the father to my daughters, I would want to keep them safe. And I would want to say, please try your best not to get into anything physical unless it's in a really committed relationship. But I wouldn't want to give them that advice just because I feel like men just want to have casual relationships all the time, even though that is true. That is true for a lot of men. But I think I want to build my daughters to kind of see things. I'm tempted, please forgive me because I am a father. I'm tempted to say, God forbid that my daughter really just wants to be the casual type. But the truth of the matter is, if she does, that's great. Maybe not so for the mom, but I think I'm prepared for it because people are different and people want different things. But if she comes to me and says, Daddy, I am thinking of having sex with this person, but I really like the person and I don't know what to think. Immediately, I'm like, yeah, lock that off. Then put the sex somewhere else. Then, because now we're talking something different. Don't conflate the two. So I don't really want to keep going on. I hope I'm not really just like confusing things. I just think, definitely,
you're helping us separate it, because that's the beauty. The different perspectives helps us give a 3D opinion, listening to different men talk about how they see it. So there's no such thing as the wrong answer. And so I love the way you're putting it, because I hadn't pushed that first part.
Yeah, and can I just add, I mean, I don't really like getting personal, but for me, I learned definitely that getting into sexual relationships always messed situations up, especially when I liked the person. I had to, because it went wrong a lot of times. And that's why sometimes, you think of the book, again, the men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Sometimes I would be looking across to a person saying, well, we never really spoke about relationships when we were getting into this. This is what it was. This is what it is. So I think that's why I'm able to bring the other side. I think for me, I don't just see it as something that is casual, but I want to speak for myself. And I want, again, my brothers on this panel to be able to speak for themselves and speak on behalf of other people that are not here. But I think it's important to get that view across, that it's not just always, I can sleep with this person today and tomorrow I'll be fine. Nah, I'm not unique in that sense too. I know other people like that as well. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that opinion. I love it. Doug, what's up, sir?
I echo most of the guys in the panel when it comes to this question. I guess when I was trying to understand the question, I think does X equal Y, but Y doesn't always equal X. So what I was like, love, or the conception of love might include great sex.
Yes.
But this great sex doesn't equate love. So when we're trying to separate men and women, I'm not going to make assumption all men, but I can use myself. Can I separate the two, or can men separate the two? I think men might be easier to separating the two, and it might allow them to go through sexual relationships with a lot less like mental trauma than women do. Because I feel like with women, if they're going to be in love, they want the sex to be there too, or they want to have everything encompassing together. But for guys can't. I can just focus on sex and not making it a be about love. And I think that's the essence of the question. Like, how do men do that? I think it's maybe we can put ourselves in a mental space where, maybe this is right. This might be for right now a good time, but not for a long time. Or it might be like, I'm looking for right now versus forever. And I think maybe guys go into relationships thinking that aspect, and women don't. And I think that was like the main crust of the first part of the question. So when you were saying how to, like, if I was talking to my daughters or talking to my niece about that, again, I guess it goes down to expectations. Love is something that's supposed to be for a long time. Love shouldn't be something for a season. It shouldn't be for a day or a week. So having sex with somebody is not going to force them to be loved you. It's not going to force them to be in a relationship. But if you have love, you have something that's going to be there for a long period of time. Sex or not having sex is not going to ruin the relationship. So if someone's pressuring you into having sex to maintain a relationship or get something out of it, that should be a red flag, or that should be the sign that, maybe this isn't what I'm looking for. Maybe I'm looking for someone that's trying to love me or trying to understand me a lot more, and not give you into that pressure. Because again, sex does change relationships. I do agree with a lot of things Sean says. There's release, scientifically, the hormones, etc., blah blah blah, ABC 1 2 3. That does play a factor into it. It does change how we react and behave react and behave against each other. But if you're not in love with somebody, or you don't have the respect for somebody, you're not going to want to stay when things get tough. So that's the thing. If you're looking at it from the love angle, you can't have love and sex at the same time. You can't have love and sex at the same time. And if a guy is approaching sex, or he's being sexual, or he's being sex forward, how there that doesn't there's is it going to be to me that's going to be very impossible for that to turn into love.
Okay.
So to summarize, X might equal Y, but Y doesn't equal X.
Doesn't necessarily equal X. Yes, it may not, but it could. There's the odd chance, but don't use that 0.0005%.
It's a lot of limits. Like it's going to involve advanced mathematics.
Okay, I like that. Okay, we're going to be steaming up before we kind of round down. This is a big question. It's 2021. I'm not of the 2021 folks. I've been here for a little bit, but this is the question, this is, pursue or be pursued. As a man, or as men, would you mind being approached? Do you like being approached? Or is it an issue you don't want to be approached? Do you want to do the approaching? Anyone can take this.
I think it's changed. It's a matter of both. I mean, there's pros and cons to this. Was it last week? I think last week I was in one of the nursing wings, and it's like we see this new Nigerian name signing notes, and it's just like, who's this person? And I was just like, yo, I don't know. It seems like I don't know. If I find that person out, I'll let you know. I think it was one of my responses back to I think the charge nurse or whatever, because again, it's like a Nigerian name pops in the system. Everyone needs to know exactly who that person needs to be. So again, am I being pursued? I mean, if that's being pursued, then again, guilty. But I think when it comes to exactly what I want, I think I want to be the pursuer.
Okay.
I want to go after what I want. I'm not going to say that I'm not sure if aggressive is the right word, but I like to take my time, or like my time to take my approach. I'm not going to just go guns and blazes or run towards something that I'm attracted to. I'm going to see things out, weigh things out, and then I wouldn't say build my approach, but again, when it's my moment, I want to seize the moment and capitalize on the moment. Maybe that might be at a bar, it might be at like an event where like, hey, you see someone you like, let me get that phone number, or it could be somebody that you might be walking by in the hallway, whatever. Like, you know what, the next time I see that person, I know exactly what I want to say. I want to approach that person. So hopefully there's a spark that typically leads to me engaging with them. It's just like, is the moment, I guess the situation plays a factor in that. Is it something I need to react fast with it, or is it something I can build up to? Because I kind of feel in my presence, like, if God wants something for me, he's going to make sure to bring it to me over and over again until I seize it. He's not just going to bring something once and then for me not to see it again, if that's really meant for me. So
would you have an issue, or would it be a problem if she approached you?
It depends. I mean, it depends. It depends, and especially like at work, probably not. Because again, like at work, I'm like, if I'm focused on work and focused on my job, like I kind of don't want to blur the line too. So again, my question is like, are you here for me? Why are you attracted to me right now? Is it because I'm in my mode, in my doctor mode, or is it just because you're into me? Because again, sometimes with patients, again, it's like, you know what, hey, he's a cute doctor. Let's just see where things go. So again, flirtations, things like that. But it's just like, to me, it kind of catches me off guard. Like, to me, I want to be in my presence and in my full comfort zone. And to me, that's when I'm outside the hospital, not in. So.
Okay. All right.
So hopefully that helps.
No, it's just interesting. I'd like to know what people's opinions. Who would like to take that next? I know, Sean, you were trying to say something. Would you like to tell us what you prefer?
Sure. So I've had situations arise from both where I've been pursued or I've been the pursuer. I would say how you go about it is important.
Do say, that's important. Yes.
Me, I mean, I like a little I like a little cat and mouse. I like a little, or even if the woman is interested in me, giving me some choosing signals, right? Just letting me know enough so that you know what you know what you're trying to get accomplished, but you give me that little piece of cheese, and then I know, okay, I'm gonna grab it and I'll bring it home. That's preference. Now, if you do something a little more forward, just as long as you do it in the right way. Because in my mind, I'm thinking like, if you're that aggressive with me, you're that aggressive with other people, right? So how many other dudes are you out there being that aggressive with, like that? Because traditionally, right, it's the men, we're the hunters, right? But it's 2021. We got to evolve a little bit. And, some of us guys were shy. Some guys are scared of rejection. It's a reality, more than sometimes we like to talk about. So you give me a little bit so that I know it's not going to be a shutdown if I approach, or you see me from afar, you reach out, and then you let things transpire from there. But don't be that stage 5 clinger, just boom, 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 boom. That's going to be a turnoff.
Love it. Love it. David, you want to tell us what you think about being pursued or being pursued?
Yeah, for me, I think there is value in a man. And when I say that, I mean that because we are very reward oriented as men. If you have a little boy at home, your little boy likes to play the game, PlayStation, Xbox. Why do we play? It's not because we are, uh, Giannis Antetokounmpo, or because we're Mike Jordan, or because we're Lionel Messi. It's just because when we win the game, we feel proud, we feel happy. We play a level of the game, we win the level, we want to go to the next level. That's how we are structured. Our little daughters might play with the doll or whatever, but that's how we boys are structured. And same thing goes for us when we grow older. Sometimes ladies try to kill that, but it's not good to kill that, because that's the kind of guy that's going to be going all guns blazing to be able to feed his family. So it's a good thing to have in a man, to be that hunger, that passion. So it's good for that to be in a guy in a relationship. So there should be that level of pursuing from a guy. And I really resonate with what Sean says, so I wouldn't go too long. Um, just let me know that you're feeling me. Let me know that you like me. Let me know that you want me. And when I get that, then I'm ready to say, okay, I'm gonna go for it. Because to some extent, I understand what Liz was saying about Jason, saying that, safe option. Probably wording wasn't the right word to use, but I get the point. The fact is, I don't want to be like, because if I'm like trying to get you to pick me out of Sean and Onu and Chris, then I feel like, wait, do you really want me, or do you just enjoy the fact that you are being pursued, and then you have many options, So to me, it's that whole point of, just let me. And people are talking about DMs. Yeah, it's okay to drop in the DMs. Just you can just drop a message. Hey, hey, chocolate handsome, I like some.
Well, hey, chocolate drop, how you doing?
Hey,
Or hey,
and then
dickhead.
just drop your email address and leave it there.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? And then when we talk on the email, because you don't want to give your number out for safety reasons and all those kind of stuff, drop your email there. Let's follow up on the emails. If I'm really feeling you, then we go to the next level. Let's exchange numbers, and then we're building. You see what I'm saying? But then it's not a safe space to talk on DMs and whatever. But then essentially, to me, it's just, give me the hint, let me know that you like me, and then let me take it from there. And when I take it from there, don't just next thing you want to be at my house. Next thing you want us to, no, still do the fronting a little bit. Still, I'm busy today, I can't see
Be
you.
a little coy. Okay.
Yeah, it makes me feel like, yeah, I'm working for something.
Gotcha.
Not like, not like you just lay it all down there and like.
All right, I love that. Thank you. I guess to Chris, Opie, what's up?
Yeah.
Pursue or be pursued?
Well, I think I definitely prefer to pursue, but I have no problem being pursued. I think if we have different energy and if we have different energy, and I think it depends on the situation. So for example, I prefer to pursue because it's all about intentionality. If I'm being pursued, I don't really know what footing I'm on, you know. I don't know why I'm responding to you. I prefer to be the person that is so attracted to you that I'm chasing you. However, if I haven't noticed something about you, maybe this is not a physical attraction thing, but you know, something more spiritual, something more mental. And the other person notices it first. Maybe she realizes we're into the same philosopher, the same books. If she
Mm-hmm.
wants to step to me in a particular in a way for me to notice her, I, I think I don't want to be dramatic. I think it would almost be wrong for her not to, because that's one thing I think I can't stand. I get everybody having their different energy. You may just blush, wink at somebody, and that's fine. But wanting something and not doing something about it in your way with your energy, I don't know if you can go far in life, you know. And I'm not one of those
Mm,
people that need that challenge. Just
okay.
me speaking, you know. I don't mind. Yeah, so I think either one's good, but I definitely prefer to do the pursuing because I always want to go for what I want. You know, that's the most important thing. I want to go for what I want. And I'm not single, but I see a question there. And
Yeah.
I definitely would have no problem with somebody I like on dating proposing to me. In fact, I kind of I won't say I forced my wife, but it didn't count. I proposed to her and then I told her that she still needed to propose to me and give me a ring. And she did, but it didn't count because I did it first. But I told her that I would let her off. But if she felt that way about me, she should have proposed to me first. But obviously I did that myself. I have no problem with it. That's, you know, it's cool.
Well, thank you, sir.
Mhm.
The single guys, Sean and Doc, what's up? Like, you know, someone she went on bended knee. Like, how does that make you feel? Do you have an issue with it? Do you need to now, you know, is that like a prompt for you to do it, or you're like, stop?
In no way, if that ever happens to me, I've made a serious mistake. That's that's a it is a no for me.
Can you tell me more?
Well, I was for me, like, I'm a pretty decisive man, right? So if I'm with a woman that, and I'm at the stage where we're gonna get married, she's not gonna be having to guess or having to flip the script and turn around and propose to me.
Mm,
You know, she's gonna know where we stand,
mm,
and she's just going to have to wait whatever that time frame is. It's not going to be a long extended time frame because I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, we got to be together 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years,
yeah.
you know, before we get down that aisle. Um, if I'm ready, I'm ready, and if I'm not, I'm not. And perhaps if I'm not, maybe there's a reason we should consider staying in a relationship. So I
Mm,
say that if a woman were to do that to me, I would feel there's a significant imbalance in our relationship, and we would not be aligned. If she's at that point, that would be the ultimate turnoff to me. Again, for me, I'm speaking for myself.
that's the
I
whole point.
I don't
Everybody
want it.
has to have their own opinion.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't want that. It's a no go for me. It's an abort the mission. It's a we got to move on.
Okay. All right. Love it. Thank you for your. It's beautiful because I want women to see this because sometimes I'll see it on social media. I'm like, but then it's you. I see different things, different reactions. So you know, it's a gamut. You know, that's where I guess the God component comes in, getting guidance from the spirit. Dr. Onu, what's up? Like, you know, a woman proposes to you. She goes down on bended knee. She comes to see you in the hospital, like right there in the lobby where all the nurses can see what's going on. How you feel about that, sir?
I think I'm gonna hit. I'm gonna hit with my quickest Barry Sanders move and keep pushing to the door to the nearest to the nearest staircase and keep it pushing. Um, I mean, every situation is different. So again, like
Yes.
I don't know. Again, I don't know what be the parameters of that to work. I mean, like off top of my head, if it was like Oprah, okay, I understand. But if it's like just random Tuesday hallway at the hospital, Barry Sanders been moved hallway. Here we go. Because again, like I'm not. I guess it comes not being respect. It just comes down to understanding. I'm not here for that type of. I'm not trying to be embarrassed. I'm trying to put myself in a spot like that, especially at work, to be to be looking all crazy. But that's just me.
How about it? Okay, it's in the park. You guys are walking, just chilling. It's the evening. It's your day off, and you're just chilling. And then you notice that she stopped and she calls you, and then you notice people stopping. You turn around. She's on one bended knee. Like, is that okay for you? Are you okay to that, or would you want to have done that first? Do you now have to go after her and then do it? Like, how does it work in your mind?
In my mind, what I'm thinking is like, okay, if you're willing to get on bended knee to ask for a proposal, why haven't you been able to talk to me about wanting to get married, or what's the hold up? Because I kind of feel like when a woman does that, it's almost like an ultimate. It's like an ultimatum type of move, or it's like, you know what? It's like the relationship is, you have to define the relationship at that point. What's the type of be? Whereas for a guy's going to kind of build up to that moment. It's like a thought process. Like, am I prepared for this? Do I understand the responsibilities? Have I gotten the blessing of the families and stuff like things like that? Like, if a woman wants to get on bended knee, would she have gotten the blessing of my mom and dad prior to doing that? And if she was,
that's not her role. She's not doing all that.
No. So again, then why are you doing that?
Okay.
Like, so it falls down to that. Okay. It falls down that role. It's like, are you trying to find a relationship, or what's the whole point? Now, if you're telling me that you're ready to get married, or you're ready to be proposed to, and that's the next step. If I can answer the question for myself and make sure I do everything on my end to lead up to that point, then yes, I get that. So unless you're assuming that role, then fine, so be it. But now the question I ask you is like, if you're gonna get down bended knee, are you willing to ask my parents for my hand marriage and for them to say yes? I don't see that happening. So
your parents would be a hard no. They're Nigerian.
There we go. So again,
hard no.
Unless it's Oprah, like, I don't see how this is gonna work out.
Thank you, sir. David, what up? I know, come on, give us your 2 cents. We know you're married, but hypothetically, you're someone, this happened to you. Like, how is it moving in your mind? Like, how are you seeing this? Like, one of the sisters, after, Bible study, she catches you while you guys are getting a cup of coffee and some cookies, It's a cold winter night and she's on bended knee. How do you feel?
Well, I think it would be wrong to me. And the reason why I say it would be wrong is, on one end, I think societal and culturally, marriage is sort of you can say, end goal for a woman in a way. That's what she's looking for, and the man is in the position to make that decision if he feels you are the one for that. Now, when you then sort of proposition that to me, then it sort of looks like what Onu is saying, which is you're sort of putting pressure, or you're sort of forcing things, or you're trying to hurry up things. And to me, I think that would not be right. You should let me make that decision and then present that to you, and then in a way you kind of take away that from me, actually, that whole experience, or that whole, I mean, it kind of sounds selfish in a way, but you kind of take that whole thing away, because
so you want the pleasure of doing it.
In a way, yes, like it's just expected, and it's just kind of like what you want in a way, and then like what On was saying, have you sought counsel? I mean, I respect what your brother was saying, like, it's not just any woman, but someone we're in a deep committed relationship with. I assume that my parents know her, maybe I've taken her over there sometime and they've seen her and things like that. But then you then making that, to me, I just see it like a comedy, like a joke. I just see it like we're just having fun. And so when you do that, if you do that in the room or in a privacy, yeah, no problem. But then if you like do that in the shopping mall, or then I'm like, it's kind of, yeah, I don't really vibe with that at all. Like, doing really well for you.
Thank you. You know,
Lola, can I add something quickly?
yeah, oh, please, jump in,
Yeah,
sir.
because I have a friend and his brave wife proposed to him twice. Now, obviously, I said twice because she did it the first time and he said no. I don't know how
Oh,
anybody could go through that, but it
I'll jump
happened.
in the Hudson. That's it.
I think
I'm
it's
dying.
even a sin that he actually told me about it. But
Ooh,
I was thinking about it when everybody was talking, and I think as a man we have a lot of pride, and you wouldn't want to be in that situation because, like the doctor said, like we're all saying, it's almost as if, are you pressuring me? Are you saying that, oh, because you
yeah.
feel I'm not ready yet, you're trying to ask me? On the other hand, some men, unfortunately or fortunately, aren't in that position and they really want to wait till kingdom come. And I feel like sometimes women are smarter at saying, you don't have to be Bill Gates before this happens. And for every man who feels like it's a mistake for me to walk down that aisle before I have so and so, there's a man who's just wasting his potential blessings thinking he has to have this amount of money before he makes that step. Our auntie always said, it's when you get into this marriage, you get into like kids, that for some people their blessing comes. And some men will miss that because, we're
Mm,
stubborn. So
mm.
some men may need that. It may hurt their ego, but some men may need that to be like, you know what? But the random woman getting down on her, yeah, she's just looking for embarrassment because that's not happening. But yeah, that's it basically.
Okay, so you brought me to something, a question that we always talk about, being a woman being a placeholder. Now, is that something real? Like, so for example, what I mean by a placeholder, you've been in a relationship with a man for 10, 14 years, or even longer. You might even have kids, but he hasn't put the ring on your finger to provide that security for the family that he's created. Now, is this a real thing? Is the man just, oh, he doesn't think about it? Or is he actually saying, this is not the real person I was waiting for? I'm waiting for that real person to come along. Which is it? Sean, you want to jump on that? What do you think?
Being a placeholder.
Yes, you hear that term. Like, is it just something we've made up? Like, it's just it just happened?
From the male perspective,
From
like
the male perspective, you're in a relationship with a woman for years, and she likely probably wants to get married, but she hasn't been able to. It hasn't happened, and she didn't go on bended knee. She probably has a kid or two, but still, no ring, no. Now, is the guy? Is he reluctant? Is he thinking it's not important to him? Because if it's important to his partner, shouldn't it be important to him? Is being a placeholder thing with the guy? It's just really casual and doesn't mean much to them, and they don't see the point in it, or they're just holding out for someone they think they should marry.
I would say that I don't know that men necessarily think about it like that, like as a placeholder, like she's a placeholder. I think we know, but sometimes some men fall prey to stringing along women. So it's not that he's holding the place for somebody else. It's just like he's enjoying the convenience of whatever their relationship is, but in his mind he knows it's not going anywhere further. He just hasn't figured out how to navigate out of the situation. And in most instances, if he hasn't said it out loud, he's given that woman a lot of indicators that it's not going nowhere. But sometimes the other piece of it is women hold on, hoping, wishing, praying. One thing that I learned is that men, we like consistency. We like the same. You start like you finished. Women like that variety. They want you to grow into something different or be a better version of yourself, or let's evolve together. And I'm not a caveman, right? I'm not saying, I'm going to be the same person I was yesterday as today, but we don't see life in that way, right? So I think sometimes women just, because their minds can work that way, they hold out this hope that despite what the man may be either saying or showing them, that something different is going to evolve. So it's not like we're saying like, oh, she's a placeholder and I might marry her tomorrow or I might not marry her, whatever. we know, right? And are there those examples that we can point at that we could see maybe after somebody's been together 14 years, let's say Alexia and Darian from, put a ring
That's
on
where
it.
I'm going with that. Yeah.
Could it happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you start peeling that onion back, it probably ain't happening. And if it did, is that what you want? Do you want to have sat in a relationship for that long without marriage? Because if you're gonna go ahead and marry them, why didn't you do it 10 years ago? Like if you were gonna do it, why are you dragging it out, waiting for the sun and the moon and the stars to align? I feel like you know. And for myself, for me, when I know, I know. And when I know it's right, I know. And when I know it's wrong and it's time to go, I go. I'm not that kind of person that drags things out because I just don't have patience for that. I don't have the energy to drag somebody along and keep track of the lies that I told you yesterday. Like that's too exhausting for me. I just rather be upfront with you. If you tell me I said it the wrong way, maybe we could talk through that. I could work on my wording, but I'm not just gonna drag you on with some hope of a Disneyland fairy tale that's not happening. I won't do that.
Love it. Thank you. Because this is a big thing for me. I'm looking, not for me personally, but when I see it, you hear this all the time and we have judgments, but it's like, really, what's going on? Honor, I know you want to jump on this because you haven't done this to a woman.
Yeah, so to piggyback off what Sean has to say, like I have a saying, like men, it's like algebra 2, like women are like differential equations. It's like it's when you listen to like women logic, it's like always a complex situation that has to boil down to equate to exactly what they're meaning. So when you're explaining about, okay, you know what, you don't need to have all the money in the world in order to propose. If the guy's like, you know what, if I don't have, let's say $10,000 in the bank account, how am I going to be able to get the ring? Or how am I going to be able, if I don't have $25,000, how am I going to be able to afford the wedding that you want? That's going to kind of give them reason hesitation. Like, okay, I'm not going to propose at the particular time. Whereas for a woman, it's like, you know what, if he just shows the intention that he wants to be with me, we can figure the rest of the things out. We can budget, we can save, etc. It's like men logic versus women logic. Guys typically have a simple response to why they want to do something. So when it becomes complicated or when it becomes a lot more work to understand what they're saying, to me, that's like the red flag. Like, okay, what's going on here? Because typically most guys aren't give you an elaborate response to something. Whereas for women, a woman will give you that elaborate response, like why this situation can work out. Like, I see the potential. I see he has these certain things. If we can tweak 1, 2, 3, ABC, 1, 2, 3, this can work out. This can be here. I want to be here. So to me, to like piggyback or give a different analogy of what Sean has to say, yes, guys will want things to fit in place. Guys look for simplicity in things. Guys don't want to overcomplicate or overstress themselves out. So when they're saying no or not now or not right now, maybe that reservation is like, you know what, if I prepare myself, I can be the type of person you want to be. Whereas for a woman, it's like, okay, how do I get him over the promised line? How do I bring him into the fold? How do I find this situation to work out? Because again, they're going to start going through advanced mathematics, advanced equations, advanced things with limits, differentials, and etc. to make an impossible situation work. So there you go.
All right, thank you, sir. To my darling brother Christopher, you're an angel from heaven. So I know this is nothing you would ever do, but I know you've got some crusty friends, and they didn't hear this from me. Like, have you seen them do this? I know you're not familiar with this nonsense. Like with a woman because this show I'm watching and reviewing, put a ring on it. This couple, they've been together 14 years. He's had 2 kids in that 14 years with other people, not with her, and she's still here hoping like, oh, we haven't got married yet. So we call, the technical term is called placeholding. Is this something, is it real? Or is this just the guy just wasn't aware? He was just too busy playing video games for 14 years.
It's crazy because I was hearing both guys speak and I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm really acquainted with all of this. Really, because I'll go with again what Dr. said, that sometimes people are working on trying to have this situation work out in the future So when you see a person wasting so much time, or maybe in a relationship for 10 years or 14 years, I think most people I know like that aren't really waiting for another person to come and take the place. They're just almost in it for the ride. And well, no, that's the wrong way. I shouldn't say they're in it for the ride. They're just thinking about today. They're just thinking about the moment. Is that a bad thing? Well, I guess it really depends. And we had there was a we had another show like this, Lola, and I think we were talking about being intentional. And I think if a woman was to find herself in this kind of situation, maybe after 2-3 years, that's why you would want to be like, where are we going? You know, like what's happening? If you're in a situation like that for 10, 11, 12 years, you do have to ask yourself, what are you doing here? Unless, of course, you don't have a problem with it yourself. But I guess really what I'm trying to say is, from my experience, it never seems malicious. It never seems intentional that you're waiting for somebody else, you know. Although I do hear from my wife and her friends that, you know, a guy will suddenly break up with his girlfriend and then marry the next person he was with, and it was like, oh, was that the plan all along? So maybe I'm the wrong person to answer this question, because I don't know. I find it hard to believe that people would do that, you know, but maybe they do. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it happens. Like like I said, I've got a live example, but you know, it's always good to get different perspectives. So as we start kind of rounding to a close, if the audience members have any questions to throw in, you know, I want to throw up this phrase. So for the guys, this is going to be a question to you, really. So intentional dating. I kind of talked about it last week, what it meant for us. What I want from y'all tonight is, because you know, we make, you know, in one breath I'll make fun of a guy and say he only cares about computer games, but in the other strength, I think guys can be very focused and very clear when they want something and how they want something and how they'll pursue what they want. So what I want from you in terms of what is intentional dating for you, and how do you go about doing that? I'm not even going to call in anyone. I'm just going to let the first person talk. I've got nothing but time.
I mean, these are some tough questions.
Dating
okay, intentional dating.
No,
okay.
Intentional dating. Let me give you a quick snippet to give you like. So last week I talked about intentional dating. So, you know, the normal thing is maybe 5-8 years ago, or maybe back in, you know, before I got married, you know, maybe if you go out or you go to the gym, you see someone who looks cute, his muscles look good, he's got like some good bicep form, he's smiling at you, he speaks good English, his teeth are complete, he actually went to school, and you're like, oh yeah, let's go out for us and let's go out for drinks and just very haphazard with no plan to it. But intentional dating to me is where you've already had a vision of some sort of what you see in terms of what the relationship looks like. You break it down to traits. Like, okay, these are the traits that would be required to get this kind of dream. And then very focused. So it's like, let's say if you go into like, you know, what's that called? The internet dating. When you're swiping left or swiping right, it's because you have a goal in mind, not because, oh, he looks interesting. Like certain things, you're being very intentional what you do. Like there's certain things you want. You want emotional safety. You want this. You want, you know, you want him to be gallant. You want him to open the door for you. All these things that you want, you put them actually, not necessarily into a board, but you know what you want and you're focused towards that thing. That's what I mean by intentional dating. Like you're going to a particular place to look for a certain type of guy. So it's like, to flip it around, what do guys do in that regard?
Okay, so when you're saying intentional dating, you're not saying dating with a purpose, or is that kind of...
No, that's dating with a purpose. Yeah, you've got a purpose. You're not just dating randomly. You're not just dating because you saw him at the grocery store and he looked cute. If you did see him, there'd be certain things you'd be looking out for before you pursued it. So
I'm gonna go back to that space. So with intentional dating with a purpose. So like Steve Harvey has his whole 90-day rule thing when it comes to dating. So my question is, derivative off that, how much do you expect the person to change within 90 days when it comes to dating? Because a lot of people might put their best represented themselves, but after 90 days are unable to keep that up. So if you're dating with a purpose or intentional dating, if that person doesn't have those things there, or is not working those things, why are you constantly continuing to date that type of person? So again, I know a lot of people resort back to that, but to me it's like, okay, like I know who I was 90 days ago. I know who I want to be 9 days, or let's say 90 days or 6 months from now. Like I know what I value. Like I'm driven to be successful. I'm looking to have a great relationship with Christ. I'm looking to be around other people who are intellectually stimulated. So these are the things that I'm looking for. If in 90 days I don't get that from this person, why am I constantly continue dating them? So again, to me that's kind of confusing because again, I hear especially a lot of women that are saying that are dating with purpose, they're dating intentionally, but it's just like the type of mates they're attracting to don't if they don't math up, it doesn't equate to me, or it doesn't equate to me exactly how you think this person is going to equate to this goal, because it's supposed to be seeking out particular mates that are able to achieve the things that you're looking for. And I think that's like one of the things I'm definitely trying to work on. It's just like I can't date everyone, but I can date everyone. I can't be in a relationship with everyone. If I'm being in a relationship with somebody, it's going to have to be someone who can meet those particular criteria and sorting those things out. And when I hear dating with attention, or when I hear it's like, okay, I'm dating with attention, I'm dating with a purpose. Okay, I want to dig deeper and see exactly what they're looking for, and do their value set matches my value set. Because if they don't match, then okay, I need to walk away. I don't need to stay. I don't need to stay around. I'm wasting my time staying around because I know in 90 days there's no way you're going to equate. You're not going to give me the things that I'm looking for. And whatever it is you're looking for, I'm gonna take it at face value right then and there. I'm not looking at potential. I'm not looking for what this could be. I'm looking for as it right now. How do you right now? How do you right now
Mm-hmm.
help me as a helpmate? Because that's the bar that you're setting.
Okay.
When I hear those words.
And so for you, let's say you're going through your gamut of what's important to you. Are you being physically intimate? Is that something that needs to be
No,
important?
not that. I mean, I don't want to say that at that point because again, to me, that we're in the courting phase. To me, or interview phase. Like, again, you're gathering information, you're gathering data. You want to figure out exactly what is the expectations are moving forward. Because again, if you're looking for love, you're looking for that long term partnership. Again, the least you don't want to complicate things further. You want to kind of focus yourself into figuring exactly what's going to be. Honestly, I don't even want any distractions. I shouldn't be talking to other people or trying to see things out. I should be focused on exactly trying to make sure why this person will be able to fit or not fit in my life within whatever the parameters could be. If you say it's going to be 3 months, it's 3 months. If you say it's going to be a month or so, it's etc. Because again, the key thing is it's like, how is this person right now fit into your life? Can they do that or not? If they find out they can't and you want to go back to just dating unintentionally, dating with no expectations, that's fine. But when I hear intentional dating on purpose, to me that's intentional dating. To me, it's like, okay, I've suited out a potential suitor. How does this person fit into my life? This person, you can't. This isn't like Pokemon where you're trying to assemble a team. It's like, okay, how does this person skill set factor into my life? You have to be able to answer that question in I want to say a short period of time, but in a swift particular time. The more distraction you have around you is going to kind of confuse your thoughts. So you want to be able to say, you know what, how's this work or not work? At least that's how I digest that.
Okay. All right. Cool. Sean, would you like to bite onto this, the intentional dating piece, like how you approach it, what it means for you, and what it looks like for you?
Sure. So if I can, I just want to preface it with this because I kind of thought about this a little bit before.
Okay.
So I think, and this is for, some of the ladies that might be out there, and depending on what age range you fall in and what age range of the man that you may be dating, right? Because typically a guy or a man in their 20s, mid 20s, maybe even late 20s, they're not really dating. We're not really dating with intention. Unless the person that you happen to be talking to lets you know something different, typically that's not happening in Western US culture, right? Or just Western culture altogether, I would say.
Yeah.
It's just not happening that way. So I would say set yourself up for success if you are in that age range and you're fishing in a pond of men that are in their 20s and you're finding yourself frustrated and a lot of unmet needs in the dating department where you're not getting to the end you're looking for. You need to change your strategy. Don't try to change the man, change your strategy. You need to inch up a little bit more and look at a man in his mid to late 30s, because again, typically there's some dudes that don't want to settle down at that age either. I'm just saying you're going to have more success in the area of a man in his mid to late 30s. That's when we're really dating with intention. In my 20s, even in late 20s, I really wasn't dating with an intention. And I'm not saying that I didn't have relationships that lasted for a few years, but I wasn't thinking about, is this somebody that I'm going to marry?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't ready to be married. When I was ready to be married, that's when I started dating with intention. So fast forward to me now, and I think dating has just changed so much in the last 5 to 10 years. It's so different. It's very much internet. You got online dating, you got your apps, and you got an app for everything.
Yeah.
So I think that changes because you only see the filter, and it takes a little bit of work to get to know what that person's true intentions are. And I would say you trust your instincts for the woman that is dating. If you get a feeling about a guy that you're interacting with and something feels off, trust your instincts. Your instincts are typically right. And I would say you will know that. I think that now, as I'm older, the way I choose to date is going to be a vetting of that woman. I'm very key on letting somebody be who they are in their natural state.
Yeah.
I don't want to give you all the answers to the test and then you just perform. And I don't want the same for you to me. I want it to be organic. Don't present me with a checklist. Like, I'm not looking for that. We can have a conversation. You can engage me with questions and get to know who I am.
Yeah.
But I don't want this checklist, because is that really going to tell you who I am? Is that really intentionality? I'm going to show you. You're going to see by the fruits of how I conduct myself. You're going to see how I carry myself. You're going to be able to judge and tell if I'm somebody that's stable. If I'm changing jobs every 6 months, that's probably telling you something, right?
Yeah.
It tells you something about my job and my financial stability, but it tells you about my mindset. Because as a man, what we do, how we work, how we operate, is built into that provider, and so our job and how we conduct ourselves at work, and if we have a steady job, whatever that may be, is going to tell you a lot about him. So I'm looking for that from you. What does your job tell me about yourself? What do you value? What's important to you? What are the leaders in your conversation? Like, what do you do? Are we just talking about people? Or are we talking about ideas? Right? Because it is fun. Listen, if anybody knows me from being on LBB panel, others, I love a good joke. I like to look at different ways people interact. But if that's all we're talking about is what other people are doing, or what your friend across the street and how they're doing in their marriage, and this person and that person at work, or if this person at work is always coming after you, you're always the victim. Those things, that's what I'm looking for. I want to hear you just talk to me naturally. I don't want to hear the fake stuff. Just talk to me, be who you are, and whether it works and whether we align, we'll be able to figure that out in a short enough period of time. And that doesn't, if both of us are on the same page, it's not going to take us a whole 6 months of dating and going out to figure that part out. We'll know very early on. Sometimes right in that first conversation, right? You're like, you said 1, 2, 3, 4, a couple of things. I'm just seeing red flags everywhere, right? And I think that's my approach. Is I want to see that person, to summarize it, I want to see them in their natural state. I want them to be themselves. I don't want you to be anything but who you are. And then we can kind of assess each other, because I'm going to do the same. I'm not going to be nobody but me. Life has taught me I'm good with me, and if you're good with me, we can grow. And if it's not a fit, it's not a fit.
Beautiful.
So those are my thoughts.
Wonderful. Thanks. All right, Roberto. Chris, what's up?
Yeah, this intentional dating for me, the way I see it is it's the holy grail. It's almost like the goal because I understand what everybody is saying, but for me, maybe I'm just too simple. And anyway, you Lola, you've given us, you let me know, like obviously when you had the women's panel, how people see intentional dating, and now you're asking how we see it. For me, I look at it like with law of attraction, or at least what I think law of attraction is. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And I think for me, intentional dating is you have to be you have to be that person. And if you are authentically that person, then the checklist and the things they'll fly out of the window. And I guess to be honest, for some people that might be a little too idealistic, and that's why I said it's the holy grail. But if you are intentionally yourself all the time, you won't need to worry about checklists because you just know what you want and what you don't want. If I'm going up to someone, I've always said, as much as I don't want to be superficial, if I see you down the road, the first thing I'm going to see and be attracted to your looks, how you put your clothes together, every single thing. But clearly, that's not all I want. But rather than have a checklist, and make no mistake, I do or I did have some kind of checklist, but it never really works like that. You say, oh, you want somebody with natural hair, but then there's somebody there with straightened hair or weave who has all the personality that you've been looking for. Are you now you're confused. What do I do? Oh, I thought I said I wanted this, but if you are who you are, things will just work the way they want to. But most importantly, when you need to get out, if you need to get out, you'll get out, however that is. Whether you need to ask on the first day, what are your intentions when it comes to dating, or you don't, whether you take it a little slowly. So I think for me, I wanted to keep it deliberately brief because I think that is the only way. Obviously, again, and obviously it's been said a million times, I'm married. But if I wasn't married, that is how I would want to go about things because we as human beings, there's this disconnect between our intentions and our actions. And I would want to work on keeping them really aligned. And then after that, the sky's the limit. So yeah, that's really all I have.
I appreciate it. Yeah, that's it. And I think just to I guess to close it out, I'm waiting on. There's a question that Crystal wanted to ask. I'm going to have her ask it again. But in the meantime, while we're waiting on that, it's like so we've kind of gone into some points. It's kind of hard to do everything. Some points as to how men look at things, how men look at being the one, how they pursue things, how they date, what they see. What I would like from you guys now, as we start closing it out, is how would you speak to a woman out there listening to you who's single, the market's looking crazy, I hate people to use the percentages, and she wants something real? How would you advise her to approach it? And I guess since OPE, you're next to me, you okay if I start with you?
I really wanted to steal from the other two, so it's not fair. But yeah, I'll just,
I'll go.
yeah.
Oh, no,
Doctor
go.
wants to go.
Okay.
Let doctor go for it.
I'll
Go
put on my
ahead,
big
Honor.
boy pants. I think it's I guess you want to approach me being comfortable. I think like most women want to be approached when they're comfortable. Like I know I'm me at the workplace in the work setting is probably not the most easy place for you to feel comfortable. So again, to me, it's like, I'm always going to be questioning why you're approaching me with a personal request at work, at the workplace. Again, I wouldn't do that for someone else. So I wouldn't do that for me. Now, if you're a doctor or you're working in a hospital, that might be a whole different. That might be a different scenario. But just in generality, you want to approach someone that's most comfortable. So again, I want to approach you where you feel the most safest. So if that's going to be, maybe that's at a public event. Maybe it's that maybe it's an introduction through a friend or in a situation where you feel like you're not being pressured into doing something or respond in a particular way. To me, I think that's what I would look for.
And so that's what you should be doing. And who would like to go next? Oh,
I could jump in. I could jump in now.
thank you.
I mean, these questions, I just really don't think I'm qualified to answer them at
It's
all. But I
you're
would,
qualified by life and by being a
yeah,
male.
because
They
I know,
just want
but
to hear
I'm
from a
giving.
man's perspective. That's the only qualification I'm looking for.
Okay, so what I would say, because it's so difficult, it's so hard. Look at us giving our various ideas, opinions. It's still not going to be easy after. I would just be like, you have to hold out for as long as possible and deal with getting to know somebody on that level, on that platonic level. And just, I've forgotten who spoke about the fact that, that sexual energy is power. And I think if you're really trying to weed out unserious people, then that's almost the biggest thing you can have against anybody who's potentially unserious. Because if a person wants to kind of get to know you intimately, if you want to find out how wide, how vast that person is, you have to make sure that the person's interested in you for you and not really just trying to game you for the 90 days. So it's so difficult. I hope everybody will excuse the basic advice I have, but I would just say try your best to always keep things, on that platonic level until you've and I think 90 days isn't even enough. And I don't know. This is again why I said I'm not qualified. If I was talking to my daughter, I would be like, hold out as long as you need to and get to know who that human being is. It could be 6 months, it could be a year, but really get to know who that human being is, because a person will show you who they are when they're not getting what they're looking for. But a week, 2 weeks, 90, I don't know. All I know is that you definitely need to kind of get people without being distracted, because once you enter the sexual side of things, then things start getting polluted, and then you don't know where you don't know where you lie, you don't know where you land. I think you just have to do it on that level, and that's really all I have. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And so we're leaving Sean to last. Sean, Sir Sean. What would you say to the sisters out there? There's so many of us who they're not just there for numbers. It's like, what's up? We want to hear from, and you've got a lot of respect from being on the panels. People like you, they like Onu, they like you guys. And so that's why I thought it'd be good to have you guys on. Like, how would you advise us? I'm looking at you now and listening to your perspective. What would you say?
So I would say a lot of times you don't have to look so far and so wide to find, the man that could be your forever, right? Sometimes they're right in front of you, but you're overlooking them for some particular reason. I think that is something that I would say, because you're gonna find that best connection and alignment when you're with the person that you guys have a lot in common, and you're gonna find that alignment, find that spiritual connection, and those commonality typically with folks that are in your circle. So I would definitely say don't be closed off to available men that are in your circle, right? You want to go after somebody else's man, because how you get them is probably how you're gonna lose them. But
Okay,
look,
Portia.
look, look in your circle. I would definitely say that, and I would also say, like I mentioned before, trust your instincts. There's a lot going on out there, and you want to trust that gut instinct that you have, and know that most men, if they're not going to directly tell you, they're going to tell you either in nonverbal communication or in other ways. So pay attention to the signs and don't ignore them. The signs are there for a reason. And if the sign tells you to proceed, you proceed with caution. If the sign tells you to stop, you stop. If the sign says go, you go, you know? But that would be some of the advice that I would say as any woman that's approaching dating.
I appreciate it very much. I just want to kind of summarize what I heard, just in a nutshell, because we're talking about dating. What do men look for? What do they want in a relationship? They want someone who is, respectful, who can love them, who's a place of peace, and someone that they have a connection with, that they can just kind of gel. Do they automatically know the woman is the one when they see them? Not necessarily. Where do they meet this woman? It could be different places. I know Brother David says he met his wife in church, but nowadays that's probably one of the last places we would go. So it seems like you can meet him anywhere. But the biggest thing I think is what you're looking for should be what you also have in you. So because you are what you attract. I don't remember who said that, but once you're doing that and moving in that motion. And I think what I'm hearing from men is, yeah, they have types, they have all these things, but there's a certain point when they have to make that mental commitment to go the distance. And so, you doing twerking, standing on your head is not necessarily going to be that clincher. It's going to be finally him. Now, in terms of pursuing, proposing, we see that happening a lot now.
But that twerk don't hurt. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Lola. The twerk don't hurt, okay? Nothing wrong with a good twerk.
But how about you? The twerk happen behind closed doors. We all know, because you go out now, everybody's holding a bomb twerking. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, like I'm not against the twerking, but like it shouldn't, like if you're in competition with someone, should you all be like twerking in a row to get his attention? I think it takes a little bit more than that if you want a quality man. That's what I'm saying. And of course, the big knocking I'm hearing, they're saying how this catchphrase intentional dating, or dating with a purpose. And I think that's what we need to be looking out for. And literally, I believe in manifestation. Yes, you're going to get guidance from the Holy Spirit. You're going to talk, you're going to pray. But there's certain things you need to be clear on. Who am I? What do I want? What do I have to offer? What does he have to offer? Is it always about money? I don't want to say rarely, as long as he's not living under a bridge. But that should be the deciding factor. And so I think that's it. I hope we can have more conversations like this. This is the point of this channel, just to kind of help us. So if you have any topic ideas, I'll have my email in the description box. And well, thank you, sir. You want to say good night to the people with his camera on? We appreciate it. So pretty much that's it. I don't see any. Let me see if there are any questions, because I have a whole bunch of comments, but no. So no questions. So yeah, guys, this is it. Thank you very much for taking the time out to talk to the ladies. I most likely will have another kind of conversation again, because for some reason, and that's the power of a man, and that's the responsibility that you guys carry, that I don't know that everyone knows is important. Women want to hear from you. That's the truth. Like, as soon as we usually have panels with LBB, it'll be like 8 people and 2 guys. But when the guys are talking, the women are talking, like clapping, saying a word, like they want to hear from you. There's a certain respect. So that respect factor is there. And so when they see a man talking to sense, it's like, oh, you know what? This is it. So thank you very much for joining us. And I think that's it, everyone. All right, can say bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye, guys.